Call to order the regular meeting on Tuesday, May 28, 2024 at 2 p.m. At this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Mendenhall to give the invocation.
Thank you. Join me if you would. Almighty, gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you on this beautiful day. Father, we have just experienced Memorial Day weekend, a special weekend where we look back and remember some of our loved ones that have given their lives for the freedoms of this country. I hope each and every person here today took a moment yesterday, just a moment of silence, to think about that and remember those that have done that. You are such a wonderful creator, Lord. We praise you for that. We praise you for all the blessings that you give us. You give us so many blessings, Father. It's unimaginable what you do for us. So we ask you today, Father, to look down upon us. Grant us wisdom. Grant us thy mercy. And go with everyone here and give them a safe journey home. For it's in your precious name, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Please continue standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. We'll amend the agenda to add item D, fiscal year 24-25 plan update on information agenda. And again, it'll be down to, on the information agenda, down to D, and Zach Brock with Cypress Benefit Solutions will present. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So at this time, I guess we go to you. Okay. Presentation of fiscal year 2024-25 recommended budget. Interim Manager Amber Brown.
Thank you.
In accordance with the North Carolina Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act, I hereby present and submit for your review and adoption the recommended budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025. This budget meets the statutory and administrative obligations to prepare and present a balanced budget for the consideration of the Board of Commissioners. The total recommended budget for Stokes County for fiscal year 24-25 is $72,531,453. This is a 2.3% increase over the approved last year's budget amount of $70,897,780. Both the recommended budget for fiscal year 24-25 and the approved budget for fiscal year 23-24 include the current expense for schools. This explains why the number may sound higher than in years past when the school current expense was separated. It is shown this way because this budget includes a recommended change in the way current expense appropriations for the schools are calculated, but we will get to that in a later section. This recommendation contains an ad valorem tax increase with a proposed tax rate of 68 cents per $100 assessed value for general county and school current expense combined. The 4 cent for dedicated education fund would remain the same. This recommendation also includes a fire tax increase of 2 cents for the Service District, Walnut Cove Fire District, and King Fire District, making the overall rate 10 cents. The Rural Hall Fire District would remain the same at an approved 8 cent rate. This budget recommendation uses $4,192,281 from the county's general fund balance to balance the budget. Factors such as population and economic conditions were considered as this budget proposal was developed. Stokes County currently ranks 55th out of the 100 counties in North Carolina making up 4% of the state's population, 0.4% of the state's population, with an estimated 45,205 people. Since 2013, Stokes has decreased in population by an overall 1.5%, but the trend has seen an uptick from 2020 as more individuals are moving into the county. However, data from the NC State Demographer's Office reports that Stokes County has more residents over age 65 than children under 18, and the trend is steadily growing as the population of the county ages. As the trend continues, we as a county must consider our population's evolving needs and how we can support them in the areas such as senior services and the Department of Social Services, but particularly with public safety and the departments such as emergency medical services, EMS, and emergency communications. The upcoming year's budget presented a wide array of challenges, many of which have been present in the past, but many are also new. The statewide challenge to recruit and retain qualified employees continues to persist with an increase in demand for services provided. Inflation that has affected all organizations is also affecting our county and citizens, with some signs of slowing down, but also with higher prices becoming the new normal. As we continue to provide services to nearly 46,000 citizens, the county especially feels this impact. Capital needs are growing as our facilities age with each year that passes. The number of expenditures and services provided have grown, and partnered with relatively steady revenues, the revenues are not projected to cover the increases. Many of our services are mandated by the state, and the county is statutorily required to provide them. This proposal invests in key areas of public safety, capital needs, and in our dedicated employees. The recommended budget seeks to provide the best level of service possible to our citizens while remaining fiscally responsible, utilizing the resources we are afforded. Budget guidance. Prior to department heads submitting budgets and the formation of this recommended budget, time was taken at an open meeting with the interim manager and finance team, where the Board of Commissioners provided goals and priorities for how the budget should be directed. The following specific budget guidance items were provided: raise the fund balance percentage to 20%, maintain the current level of services, invest in our employees by adjusting pay scales to be competitive, focus on providing resources to public safety, make progress on capital projects with the courthouse and animal shelter, highlight mental and behavioral health, improve technology, cybersecurity, and broadband access, look at long-term plans for the hospital and schools, invest in economic development and new businesses. With the assistance of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, the NCACC, the Board of Commissioners also held a financial and capital planning session in February at campaigns to discuss where the county stood, including steps to move forward. It allowed the board and staff to get a head start on large financial considerations impacting the budget. With the cooperation of the board, the staff looks forward to creating a capital improvement plan and strategic plan that will assist in guiding the county and budget over the coming years. Considerations. While preparing the budget recommendation and combing through department requests, the previously mentioned budget guidance items were used to ensure that the recommended budget followed the expectations and wishes of the board. The board has historically tried to keep property taxes low while also setting a goal of maintaining the general fund balance between 17 and 20%. As we saw last year, continuing to provide top-level services to citizens with natural expenditure increases annually proves difficult without also increasing revenues. Even with the recommended tax increase, I had no other choice than to utilize a sizable portion of the general fund balance in order to balance the budget without cutting essential services. We will continue to work toward building the fund balance back to 20%, but this cannot be accomplished in the current economic environment without changes in either the level of services provided to citizens or in the amount of tax the citizens pay for those services. As our tax administrator has previously updated, the next reappraisal or reevaluation will occur next year in 2025. Based upon NC General Statute 105-286 and the Machinery Act of North Carolina, all 100 counties are mandated to perform reappraisal of all real property at least every 8 years. Stokes County chooses to conduct a reappraisal every 4 years to accurately depict and equal the true market value of the property, and because of the public service companies like Duke Energy that reside in the county. This will be a crucial step in naturally increasing our revenue based on true market valuations of real property. With revaluation next year, we will be able to better address the county's needs, provide the best, most cost-effective services, and work to build up our general fund balance. Our two major revenue sources, the property tax and the sales tax, grew by a combined 4.48% over last year. We estimate that revenue changes from these sources will only moderately grow in fiscal year 24-25 without a tax increase. However, our budget requests, including the school systems, totaled millions more than the projected increase in revenue. That's not enough to maintain our operations and address the board's highest priorities. This is a perfect example of how growth doesn't pay for itself. Growth simply doesn't generate enough revenue to cover the needs of the county and the school system, which means that we must make smart choices with the funding that we do have. Property tax is our main funding source. While it represents a large percentage of the budget, it's the only revenue source within the county's complete control. The county is also considering putting the quarter-cent sales tax back on the ballot for the upcoming general election. This change would increase the current sales tax rate from 6.75% to 7%, a rate that many counties have already approved and are utilizing additional funds from. The increase, a quarter of a cent, could generate as much as $800,000 to $1.2 million in additional revenue depending on the number of visitors and sales. The passage and implementation of this tax would be additional revenue for the county that visitors would contribute to as well, with added encouragement of citizens and visitors to shop local. However, barring passage of the quarter-cent sales tax, property tax is our best tool for bridging the gap between the needs of our community and our current revenue growth. That's why, as we developed this budget, I had to consider raising the property tax. The budget presented for fiscal year 24-25 totals nearly $72.5 million and requires a 6 cents property tax increase. Of that 6 cents, 2 cents will go directly to fund the mandated expansion and renovation of the Stokes County Courthouse, and 2 cents will support and maintain vital public safety services. The other 2 cents will provide for the uncontrollable increases in the operating budget, most of which are directly linked to solid waste, infrastructure, facilities, and organizational support. Under this recommendation, the county's property tax rate would be 68 cents, along with the 4 cent dedicated education fund. For every $100,000 of assessed value, property owners would pay an estimated $60 a year, with a 6 cent recommended increase. Currently, the average residential tax value in Stokes County is $167,000. So under this recommendation, the average individual would pay about $100 more a year, or an additional $8 per month. Public health and safety. One of the most important and most visible county services is public health and safety. Our demand for services is increasing as our population grows and ages. The need to protect the public is our top priority, which is why, as services and costs associated with this need increase, we suggest a portion of increased taxes go directly to the areas of public health and safety. Responding to crisis. In this section, we will share the challenges facing our emergency communications, E911, and EMS departments, along with the county's fire service and protection. Emergency communications. If you're expecting a medical emergency, you want EMS to arrive as soon as possible. But without someone being on the other line when you call 911 and dispatching the appropriate response, the ambulance could not arrive. In 2023 alone, E911 answered 79,952 calls. Broken down, this equates to an average of 6,663 calls per month and 220 calls per day. From the year 2000 until 2023, the number of calls for service reflected in the CAD system has increased 170%. From approximately 24,000 calls in 2000 to 65,000 calls in 2023. Law enforcement, fire, and EMS have all seen surges in their call volumes. Each of these agencies has increased their personnel or have changed their staffing model to manage their increase. However, the Communication Center has not seen a staffing increase in approximately 20 years. Telecommunicators have felt the increase in call volume, as 99% of all emergency response calls originate from emergency communications, yet the staffing level has remained the same. Currently, there are 3 telecommunicators completing a shift, one of these being a supervisor. Telecommunicators on shift are tasked with answering emergency and non-emergency calls for service, while simultaneously dispatching calls for service over the radio. While dispatchers are excellent at multitasking, it still poses a strain on the telecommunicator trying to manage taking calls for service and monitoring the radio at the same time. To ensure that citizens calling 911 are assisted efficiently and that the appropriate agency is dispatched to their emergency, I am recommending the addition of 2 telecommunicator positions. These additional 2 positions could staff peak time hours when the majority of 911 calls are received to help lighten the load, most likely an 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. shift. Adding these 2 positions would allow the supervisor on shift to better carry out their supervisory duties like scheduling, performance reviews, and training without leaving the center short-staffed. EMS. One of the county agencies that receives arguably the most calls for service dispatched out of the 911 center is Emergency Medical Service. The EMS department celebrated 50 years of excellent pre-hospital care for citizens and visitors of Stokes County this year. We are very proud of that. To maintain the essential services provided by such an intricate department, the county consistently makes investments in EMS. One of the major expenses associated with running EMS is the medical supply equipment and ambulances. In 2023, out of the nearly 8,000 calls received, 68% of these were transports. In addition to the calls for service, approximately 2,800 standbys were required within the county. This consists of units moving within the county to cover areas when other units are depleted. By sharing these totals, you can only imagine the mileage placed on ambulances, along with the wear and tear of these vehicles as they move around the county. Today, 5 of our ambulances in service have over 200,000 miles, while 2 of our ambulances have over 300,000 miles. We have been planning to take many of these ambulances out of service and replace them with new ones. However, the COVID pandemic has made ambulances next to impossible to find, order, and receive in a timely fashion. In 2022, the county signed a letter of intent approved by the Board of Commissioners reflecting our intention to purchase 2 ambulances. Our name was put on a lengthy list to get them. Last year, in 23-24, we financed one of these ambulances so that way we can make sure we were prepared to receive it as soon as it became available. For fiscal year 24-25, we are recommending that we finance the other letter of intent ambulance so that when the second one is ready, we can secure it quickly as well. In total, we are waiting for 3 ambulances that we have ordered, one stemming back from fiscal year 22-23 budget when we used ARPA funding to purchase one. We should be receiving at least one of these ambulances this year, with the others an estimated 90 weeks out. In the meantime, the maintenance and repair costs on these vehicles are increasing, and we hope to transition to the new ones in as quickly as we can get them to lower these costs as they near end of life. Another critical vehicle to the EMS department is the supervisor vehicle, also known as Life One. Each shift supervisor utilizes the vehicle to assist with emergency response among the different EMS stations and is fully equipped with the necessary life-saving equipment and transport requirements. Because of the high mileage and critical role of this vehicle, we are recommending the replacement of the EMS supervisor truck this year with the funds coming from financing. Another key piece of EMS department is the medical equipment required with paramedic response and transport of the patients. With the thousands of transports each year comes the wear and tear of not just the vehicles but the medical equipment as well. The power stretchers that our EMS personnel use for transport have reached the end of their service life, which comes approximately every 7 years. To make sure our citizens are cared for and our paramedics have the tools they need in responding to an emergency, we recommend the replacement of 7 power stretchers with funds coming from financing. Fire protection and response. Counties in North Carolina are authorized to fund fire protection through taxes. This is usually done through contracts with incorporated fire departments. We are no different in Stokes and contract with both volunteer and municipal fire departments to best protect our citizens when it comes to fire protection and response. Fire departments are seeing increased operational capital and personnel needs as the economic and societal environment changes. Call volumes are currently high and are only projected to increase more, requiring greater investments in all the aforementioned areas of equipment, operations, and personnel. My budget recommendation does not include a fire tax increase for the Rural Hall Fire District as they did not request one. But it does, however, include a 2-cent fire tax increase for both the Walnut Cove Fire District and King Fire District. Both of these fire districts request tax increases for their respective districts last year and this year due to the increased needs associated with providing more services. The Fire Protection Service District that is comprised of the volunteer fire departments located in the more rural areas of the county is no exception when it comes to feeling the burden of inflation and personnel needs. While the other fire districts in the county are dealing with staffing issues, the service district has arguably been hit the hardest in the personnel arena. The service district relies heavily on volunteers to staff the organization and be available for response when a call for service goes out. Every year that passes results in less volunteers that are willing and able to respond. E911 many times, during the weekday especially, is left to dispatch as many as 7 or 8 fire departments to respond to one call for service due to the lack of availability and response. The problem is very real, but thankfully we are taking steps to address it now. The Board of Commissioners have tasked fire chiefs in the county with working on a staffing plan that addresses this issue. Progress has been made with many good ideas presented, such as a response truck program, but there are many details left to work out to ensure that the county uses taxpayer funds to the most effectively address the problem at hand. For fiscal year 24-25, the Fire Commission requested a fire tax increase of 2 cents for the service district. My budget recommendation includes a 2-cent fire tax increase for the service district. However, I recommend that 1 cent of the increase go towards equipment and operational increases as requested, but that the other 1 cent be earmarked for future appropriation to be spent on personnel. We know that there is a need for staffing due to a downturn in volunteerism. However, there is not a solid plan in motion yet. If we earmark 1 cent to be used specifically for personnel and future staffing needs of the service district and reserve it to be appropriated when a plan is established, then there will be a fund balance to build off of to carry out the staffing plan at that time. Protecting at-risk populations. As you just saw, there are many challenges facing the county in the public safety arena, but when it comes to the health and well-being of citizens in the community, there are a whole different set of challenges we face. Beginning December of 2023, the state of North Carolina expanded access to Medicaid, allowing for more North Carolinians to be qualified for health coverage through NC Medicaid. Through expansion of this program, local departments of social services were directly affected since they are the frontline workers that handle Medicaid in the county and manage the related cases for those citizens receiving the coverage. The state expanded Medicaid, which aided many of our citizens, yet it placed an additional burden on our DSS department and dedicated caseworkers within. Through the expansion, the number of Stokes County eligible citizens grew by thousands. Even before the expansion occurred, the total number of citizens receiving Medicaid coverage in Stokes had increased from 23.3% of the total population in 2021 to 26.2% in 2022. The number of Medicaid cases have heightened each year, with sharp increases in the beginning of 2024, right after the expansion took place. In 2020, there was 9,192 cases, 2021, 9,233 cases, 2022, 9,564 cases, 2023, 9,799 cases, and from January through March of 2024 alone, in the first quarter, is 10,011 cases. Just in the first quarter of the 2024 calendar year, there were more cases than all of the calendar years 2020 through 2023. With these caseloads, our workers currently carry 667 cases each, which is extremely too many for one staff member to carry with the casework that is required. The Medicaid caseload is not projected to shrink anytime soon, so the county must adjust to absorb the increased cases added from the state's Medicaid expansion through acquired new positions to successfully meet the challenges presented. At the request of the DSS Director, Stacey Elms, I recommend that we add 3 new positions to assist the Medicaid units with Medicaid expansion, 2 income maintenance caseworker 2 positions, and 1 income maintenance caseworker 3 position. While it is required that we add staff to mitigate the results of the state expanding Medicaid, they have allocated additional funds to the county to assist with our response. For fiscal year 24-25, the state has allocated $152,000.13 to Stokes County to help with the expanding workload. Because each of these recommended income maintenance caseworker positions are paid at 75% by the state and only 25% by the county, this additional funding provided by the state will cover the county's portion of the added positions as well. The well-being of our youngest residents, especially the children who are in dangerous and healthy situations, is also a top priority for Stokes County. These youth in our community deserve, need, and want loving homes, and it is our statutorily mandated job to help them find one. The pandemic had a significant impact on our foster care system, and we lost many foster families during this time. With the increased number of children entering the system every day and the constant struggle to find them placement, assistance in this area is needed more than ever. To assume all duties related to adoption assistance, programming, linked services, extended foster care cases, and adoptions from other states, I recommend the addition of 1 social worker 3 position. The services I just listed are essential in DSS's work with families and the dedicated workers needed for these services. Currently, our DSS director, yes, you heard that right, our DSS director, and 3 of our supervisors are taking on these duties on cases on top of their normal roles at DSS. These services require constant work with families, attention to detail, and accuracy. Adding a position specifically to handle these services will free up our DSS director and supervisors so they can carry out the supervisory duties they were hired to do. Behavioral health. The health and well-being of citizens in the community also includes behavioral and physical health. The opioid epidemic primarily has hit the United States hard, and Stokes is no exception. However, with funds the county is receiving from the opioid settlement, we are better able to take strides to mitigate the effects. Through the litigation between local governments and several large pharmaceutical companies, Stokes County was awarded $7,266,546 in opioid settlement monies to be spent on that. The funding for this settlement is dispersed over the course of 18 years, with us currently being in the 3rd year. There is a long list of strategies approved by the state to regulate the spending of these dollars, and strategies are targeted at reducing the opioid epidemic. The Board of Commissioners has approved allocation of a portion of these funds to 3 positions as of current: a 3rd community paramedic position, a peer support specialist, and then an opioid prevention coordinator. Recently, the opioid prevention coordinator was hired, and we look forward to working with this individual to lead the county in the fight against the epidemic. Solid waste. One of the most heavily used county services besides public safety and health is that of solid waste, or better known as the green box sites. Surprising to some, solid waste is one of the larger budgets that the county supports, with garbage services that reach citizens across the county with hundreds of users per day. Because of the large uncontrollable increases in expenditures associated with operating and maintaining all 8 of our green box sites, I am recommending a portion of the tax increase be used to support solid waste. Upgrades have already been made to several of the sites, with both Pinnacle and Walnut Cove locations being remodeled, leading to increased safety of those sites, paired with more efficient operations. The transfer station at Sizemore Road has also recently been paved, providing for easier access to citizens. With more than 80,000 visits across all Greenbox sites in the first quarter alone for 2024, the cost of providing these services will only continue to increase. To put it into perspective, the Solid Waste Department collects approximately 635 tons of household garbage across all Greenbox sites. This amounts to an estimated 7,620 tons per year, or 15,240,000 pounds. In addition to garbage, about 486 tons, or 970,000 pounds of recyclables are also hauled off from these sites. The hauling of all garbage and recyclables across the county to locations outside the county lines puts an immense amount of strain and mileage on our garbage trucks. County sanitation equipment operators use 4 front-loader garbage trucks to make these runs. The oldest of these trucks, a 2005 model, has over 300,000 miles on it and is currently out of service from having a blown engine. In fiscal year 2022-23 and fiscal year 23-24, all garbage trucks combined cost the county $122,298 in maintenance and repair costs. The 2005 model alone cost the county $71,138 in maintenance and repairs, which is 58% of the total maintenance expenses for the garbage truck fleet. It is time to take this truck out of service and replace it with a new, more cost-efficient one. For this reason, I am recommending the purchase of 1 front-loader garbage truck for solid waste to be paid for with funds from financing. Facilities, technology, and infrastructure. Up to this point, I've mainly talked about outward-facing services that the county provides. Now I'm going to turn the focus to services that really support county operations. As we looked at this year's budget, we looked at the county's infrastructure needs, both physical and digital. On the facility front, we rely on well-maintained facilities to create a good foundation for our organization. As economic conditions change and the county's footprint grows, the price tag for capital needs and maintenance increases. With over 300,000 square footage of public building space to upkeep, there are projects we must take care of every year to ensure safe and operational facilities. This budget includes replacing the original roof at the Autumn Square building, HVAC replacements for Ann's Place and EMS Station 5, a security fence at the Emergency Management Storage building, and new paint and floors for the libraries. The largest capital project that we are faced with this year is the courthouse expansion and renovation project. At the time this started, our Superior Court judges approached the commissioners with a requirement that this project be taken on. The courthouse as it stood did not meet the needs of the judicial system, with the layout of the building, but especially with the increased numbers of cases being tried. Over the last year or two, much deliberation and planning has taken place with regards to the plan, design, and funding of the project. Working with the architect and engineer for the project, our project manager has already begun the process, with bids being due in mid-June. The state provided the county with $2 million in state capital infrastructure grant funding specifically for this project. The preliminary steps in the process for engineer plans and architectural drawings were able to be completed with a portion of the grant funding from the state. Currently, the project is estimated to cost $8.5 million and will utilize a portion of the remaining SCIF money. We are projecting that the county will have to finance approximately $7.25 million for this project. While we will have a better estimate of the actual price when the bids come in, we have to use our projections in the planning of the project. The debt service on funding this project is estimated to be between $800,000 and $900,000 a year, depending on the interest rate and the final amount to be financed. To pay for the calculated debt service payment for the courthouse expansion and renovation project, I am recommending that 2 cents of the tax increase go directly towards funding this payment. On the digital side of infrastructure, the county has made strides to upgrade outdated software systems and to replace technology as it ages. Human resources, HR, and payroll software has already been introduced this year, with other software being heavily prepared for in an effort to implement them this calendar year. These include finance software, planning and inspection software, and a new software for public safety, which upgrades CAD and the management systems for the sheriff's office and jail. Replacing old software systems with modern ones can help the county interact with residents in ways that are easier and can provide them with better services. New software is beneficial for citizens and can ease the workload of employees, but often comes with recurring fees. The county also makes an attempt to replace outdated technology and computers and laptops every year so that there's a constant cycle of old equipment rotating out with new equipment replacing it. This is true for the budget too, with many departments need computers to replace outdated ones. Combining the technology equipment needs together, the recommendation is to finance this equipment. Organizational support. The work we do for the community requires a lot of internal support. We have a workforce that is 500 people strong. We manage a large vehicle fleet, process thousands of vendor payments, collect property taxes, and much more. When we look at what it takes to keep our organization running smoothly, the answer is smart and dedicated and innovative employees. We recognize that highly qualified and skilled employees are critical to delivering services at the level the community expects. While we are proud of the many services and programs the county offers, none of it would be possible without our employees. They are the greatest asset the county has, and this budget includes steps to invest in them. Over the last few months, HR Director Jamie Clark and I have looked at and worked on ways to better improve our pay system, including options for adjusting salaries for inflation. During this time, we worked with a consultant from the NCACC who assisted us in the recommendation that we are presenting as part of the fiscal year 24-25 budget. There were 3 things that we addressed. 1, a cost of living adjustment. 2, the pay scales. And 3, longevity pay. The first thing we wanted to focus on was a COLA for our employees. A true COLA had not been given to employees since 2019. While employees now receive a 2% increase off of their current salary annually, before fiscal year 23-24, employees were granted 2% off the starting salary for their respective pay grade on the scale. While 2% is an increase, inflation has far surpassed the percentage granted to employees since 2019. Other local government employers around us have been making COLA adjustments by 3, 4, 5%, and more depending on the year since the pandemic. Before we set an amount for a recommended COLA, we knew that our pay scales were outdated and causing many problems with both recruitment and retention. Working with a consultant from the NCACC, we revamped our pay scale to one that is in line with surrounding and like-sized counties and is closely adjusted to be market competitive. The scales we are recommending make sense for our county and are easily explainable to departments and employees. We met with all the department heads to go over the proposed scales and spent months making adjustments to best fit the need of our county. The new scales are multi-layered with different pay scales for general government, EMS, sheriff/jail, DSS, and health. Because each of the 4 departments outside of the general scales are so unique, it made the most sense to put them on a scale by themselves, as many counties have already done. We would shift from a one-size-fits-all pay scale to tailored pay scales. One of the goals that HR and I had going into the process was that every full-time employee would be making a minimum living wage of $15 an hour, with many of our employees were not. This new scale does this and adjusts all salary ranges to be market competitive. Our goal was to maintain pay ranges that would attract new employees, but to also maintain pay increases which would coincide with the cost of living adjustment, and recognize employees who are committed to staying with the county. To align with our goal, we looked at a COLA that would address some level of compression adjustment, meaning not everyone would get the same rate, since many of our longtime employees have not been accurately compensated for the inflation and market adjustments over the years. Our recommendation includes the following COLA based on years of service to the county, and not to the position for which the employee has been in. 3% for 0 to 4 years of service, 3% 5 to 9 years of service, 4% for 10 to 14 years of service, 5% for 15 to 20 years of service, and 5% for 20 plus years of service. Our goal for this budget is to give full-time employees a COLA off their current salary based on years of service with the percentages noted above. To successfully implement the new market competitive pay scales, all employees would also need to be brought to a new minimum of their corresponding pay grade. Most employees are already above the new minimums on the scale, or would be after receiving the cost of living adjustment. The estimated cost for 351 full-time employees to receive COLAs for fiscal year 24-25 is $576,837. The estimated cost to implement the new pay scales, which requires all employees below the new minimum be moved after the COLA, is $195,727. We request that both adjustments be made effective July 1, 2024 for a projected total of $772,564. Based off the recommendations from commissioners during budget goals discussions, we made sure to recommend a plan that is both affordable and fair to both tenured and new employees. Commissioner goals have also previously included a public safety focus with competitive compensation. One important aspect to note is that of the projected $772,564 cost to implement the pay adjustment plan, $363,075 of this is solely public safety salaries, almost half at 47%. With the implementation of a new pay scale, HR and I wanted to pair this positive change with a longevity program that is more alike with other counties. Currently, Stokes County gives a longevity of 2% annually, calculated in years past off the minimum of that employee's pay scale, but now calculated off the employee's current salary and given on their anniversary date. While we call it longevity, Stokes is alone in all our methods, and it doesn't mirror any of the conventional methods for local government longevity programs. Changing the way that we award longevity would address the issues we are facing with long-term employees. Most other counties have moved to a bonus-based longevity plan due to the fact that it rewards employees for tenure with the county, as it is the intention of any longevity program. Shifting to bonus-based longevity would also relieve burdens on HR and payroll, since our current program results in longevities being calculated and given every pay period. This new method would be a cost savings to the county compared to the way that we are currently paying longevity, which allows us to better afford a true COLA each year. The proposed program would award employee longevity, the payroll before Christmas each year for those employees who are invested with 5 or more years of service to the county. The suggested longevity scale based on years of service is as follows. 5 years but less than 10, 1%. 10 years less than 15, 1%. 1.5%. 15 years but less than 20, 2%. 20 years but less than 25, 2.5%. And 25 plus years is 3%. Each year, the percentage corresponding with the employee's years of service would be calculated off their current salary, which will be reflected as a one-time bonus. As the employees invest more years with the county, the percentage calculated for longevity goes up. With this new longevity program, we can better recognize and reward employees that are dedicated and invested in our organization. It also shifts us to a system that is competitive and consistent with other counties. More information on the skill and process will be given at a budget work session in the future, but we are excited and happy about our progress in employee compensation. We are confident that all changes, including the COLA, pay scale adjustments, and longevity changes, will be conducive to recruiting new employees and retaining our current staff to reduce turnover. As a county, we are required to provide services. We are a service-focused organization, and we couldn't do it without the people. Thus, we need to invest in our employees, which are our greatest asset. Supporting county employees and departments. In the previous section, I reiterated the need to invest in our employees. Our workforce of approximately 500 people, broken up into nearly 25 departments who provide services, is heavily supported by both human resources and finance departments. Without investing in our internal-facing departments like HR and finance, we cannot support growth and advancement within our own organization. Through the years, as duties and state requirements have increased for both departments, the county has not kept up with the necessary personnel needed to support county services. The result is overworked department personnel with reactive operations instead of proactive ones. This year, we can take steps to address the problem and lessen the gap. Additional staff will most likely be needed in the coming years, but in consideration of a tight budget, we are recommending the following. I recommend the addition of one full-time position in human resources, an HR analyst. Currently, there are 2 HR personnel, the HR director and the assistant HR director. This equates to 1 HR position per 250 employees. Per the Society for Human Resource Management, the current recommendation for employee to HR personnel ratio is 1 position per 100 employees. The addition of an HR analyst position would adjust our HR staff to employee ratio to about 167 employees per position. Another necessary investment that is overdue is the addition of personnel to our finance team. With the increase in regulations, grant funding, and complexity of government financials, the workload of our current personnel is at its maximum. I am recommending the addition of a part-time financial technician assistant to provide extra support for such a vital department. This position would assist in daily operations, financial compliance with regulations, audit assistance, and would allow the finance department to review and analyze financial statements more regularly. Building these teams will give a stronger foundation for public service so that our external-facing departments can best deliver services that our residents want and need. Additional employee investment. Besides pay and longevity investments, there are additional ways that Stokes County invests in its employees in the avenues of health insurance, wellness, and local government pension. The county will continue to pay 100% of the premium cost for all employees. Stokes will continue to utilize Cypress Benefit Solutions for insurance and benefits to provide coverage through Crescent Health and Cigna for health insurance, MetLife for dental, and Community Eye for vision. Unfortunately, there was a 10% increase in health insurance and 15% increase in dental insurance this year due to inflation and an increased number of claims. Vision did not experience any increase this year, and there is a rate guarantee on all other MetLife lines of coverage. The county will continue supporting the $25,000 life insurance through MetLife for each active full-time employee covered by the county and at no individual cost to the employee. The Health Department, Human Resources, and Cypress Benefit Solutions are also continuing to work on providing an employee wellness program. The Cypress Benefit Solutions and HR team will be working on fully integrating the Health Department as an on-site clinic for our staff and dependents. A wellness program will help to reduce insurance premiums, prevent health problems for employees, which may reduce employee absences, and reduce medical costs overall. Another area where the budget increased is from state requirements to raise the employer's contribution rate for the local government employees retirement system. The rate this year for general employees increased to 13.6%, and for law enforcement officers, it increased to 15.1%. While it costs the county extra funds, it is an added benefit for our local government employees. Education. One of the largest components of the county's annual budget is always education. Education is vital to helping our younger population achieve stability and success in life, which is why the county has historically invested a large percentage of property tax revenues towards the school systems. We all know that there is much work to be done when it comes to both Board of Education and Board of Commissioners working together to find effective solutions to the problems at hand. We continue to combat the decreasing number of students and the aging infrastructure of both county and school facilities. The current expense and capital outlay budgets for the schools continue to be significant, but as we carry out the steps in the plan to address the issues and make our schools more efficient, we look to decrease budgets over time. The county still holds much debt for school facilities, and a detailed debt service sheet for schools will be provided at a future budget work session. Current expense. The county appropriates funding every year, as is required by NC state statutes, for current expenses of the school systems to provide for facilities and operations. The funding used for the school's current expense budget comes from the property and motor vehicle taxes. Typically, counties collect motor vehicle and ad valorem property taxes and then distribute a portion of the tax revenue to the schools based on the number of students and need. Stokes County did it this way as well, up until 2018, when a decision was made to allocate a designated portion of cents on the property tax rate automatically to the schools. For several years, until fiscal year 23-24, the breakdown was 31 cents for the schools and 31 cents for the county. Education received half of all property tax revenue. Last year, a tax rate for the schools was specifically set as well, but the education portion was reduced by a little over a cent. For fiscal year 24-25, I am recommending that Stokes County shift back to the method that makes the most sense for both the school systems and primarily the county when it comes to property tax revenue. The ADM level continues to decrease, yet the current expense budget requests continue to increase. Even though more students are leaving, the funding the county has been giving has increased every year. Since 2021, there has been an overall 16.3% increase in county appropriations for current expense, with only a 1.2% increase in enrollment. Instead of blindly committing a level of funding by cents on the tax rate, it is common practice in most jurisdictions to link a dollar amount to fund current expense by per pupil. I am recommending that Stokes start funding this way. Natural growth will occur in revenue, but in theory, as the number of students decreases, the amount the county funds for current expense should also decrease. It is also important to note that the general fund balance that the schools hold for current expense has increased 223.7% since fiscal year 2020. All monies in the general fund are county appropriated dollars, and if that amount is increasing every year, then they could better be maximizing the state dollars they receive. The budget request for current expense for fiscal year 24-25 was $17,519,921, which is a 16.12% increase over last year's approved budget. The request includes the use of $1,100,000 of their fund balance held at the school system. My recommendation is to provide the Board of Education $15,089,840 for current expense. This includes $113,880 to the Board of Education for current expense to pay for the operations and maintenance expenses for the Poplar Springs Elementary School, which will come from the new school / Forsyth Tech Construction and Renovation Fund, also known as the 4 Cent Fund. The recommended $15,089,840 for school current expense also includes a $500,000 appropriation from their current expense fund balance here at the county in order to provide for additional revenue that can cover a larger portion of the remaining request over what the funding model could provide. Per the audit, it was reported that their current expense fund balance as of June of 2023 was $955,264. Last year's budget also appropriated $500,000 of their current expense fund balance held here toward their current expense budget. The current expense budget recommendation reflects this proposed shift from funding by cents on the tax rate to funding per pupil and calculating funding per pupil. We wanted to make sure that we used the most current ADM numbers and also made attempts to maintain the current per pupil funding number that the county had appropriated last year. The 2024 enrollment for Stokes County Schools as of month 5 was 5,428 students. Last year, the per pupil spending resulted in $2,780 per student with county appropriations. When multiplied, you get the current expense recommendation given of $15,089,840. Maintaining this level of funding per pupil at $2,780, Stokes is above the state average of local per pupil funding and is also well above the surrounding counties of Surrey, Rockingham, and Davie. A visual representation is provided for comparison in the budget message, but to give one example of the funding level that Stokes provides compared to the aforementioned entities, in fiscal year 2023, the state average of local per pupil funding was $2,763. Surrey funded $1,314 per pupil, Rockingham funded $1,468, Davie funded $2,195, and Stokes funded $2,763 per pupil. The state is responsible for providing a quality education for local school systems. The county is only statutorily required to provide facilities and operations. If you look at the current expense budget request from the school system, you will see that there's much more in it being funded with county dollars other than facilities and operations. A large portion of the request this year specifically asked for county appropriation to cover ESSER funding that was received by the schools during COVID. It's not the county's responsibility to fund additional expenses added by supplemental COVID funding. This funding should have been used for one-time expenses and not recurring funding that was going to require increased county dollars. This may explain why there is such a difference between what is requested by the schools and what my recommendation is. Another important point to note is that the Board of Education has made the decision to close several schools this upcoming fiscal year. There should be operational costs projected to be reduced because of this that the county should be seeing credit for. For example, transportation costs, maintenance and energy costs, and more. This is not clearly reflected in the requested budget. As schools close this coming year and in the future, there should be more money from operational savings to put back into instruction with funding per pupil. As stated throughout the budget message, the budget year is especially challenging, which also impacts what can be done for the school system. Most of the requests seem reasonable, but the recommended budget follows the guidance of commissioners and utilizes what is estimated from the various taxes: property motor vehicle tax for current expense and sales tax for capital outlay, plus a portion of their fund balance to maintain funding of schools. Capital outlay. The capital needs of the school system facilities are numerous, as many buildings are aging and in much need of repair. There are 19 schools currently in our district, comprised of approximately 5,500 students. The district has planned to consolidate and close several schools in the upcoming year, but the need to reduce facilities for the current enrollment numbers remains. While the Board of Education and County Commissioners are working towards a capital improvement plan, the needs are still present and are only growing worse. For capital outlay, a portion of Articles 40 and 42 of the sales tax goes directly towards the capital needs for the schools, as general statute requires. The Board of Education capital outlay request for this budget was $4,963,000. My recommendation is to provide the Board of Education with $2,675,000. This figure doesn't reflect any appropriation from the fund balance for capital outlay and only reflects what is estimated to be collected from both Article 40 and 42 of the sales tax. Article 40 of the sales tax is estimated to bring in $1.275 million, with Article 42 estimated to collect $1.4 million for the fiscal year sales tax appropriations. Both sales tax articles are estimated to bring in 4.9% more funds above last year's appropriations. As of June of 2023, approximately $1,214,645 was reported to be in their fund balance from the audit. As part of the Board of Education's capital outlay request, $2.1 million out of the $4,963,000 requested is specifically for the North Carolina Needs-Based Public School Fund grant match. Based on the maximum grant that is awarded, this figure would be the anticipated 5% match. The reason for not appropriating a portion of their fund balance, along with the articles of sales tax for the capital budget, is because of this grant match. The $2.1 million grant match is the second priority in their capital outlay budget list of 35 items. The Board of Commissioners is working diligently with the Board of Education and Superintendent to prepare for the upcoming grant application cycle. My recommendation is to keep the total fund balance here at the county so that it can continue to build, and if the grant is awarded, then appropriate the capital fund balance specifically for that grant purpose. So if you look at the recommended capital outlay budget without the grant match, since we are keeping it here for that purpose, then the suggested $2.67 million from sales tax will cover all but $188,000 of the requested capital needs for fiscal year 24-25. Quality of life. There is a lot to brag about when it comes to the quality of life that we enjoy in Stokes County. We have assets like Hanging Rock and Dan River that make us unique, but we are always trying to improve the quality of life for our citizens. We are making positive changes this year in some quality of life areas such as libraries, tourism, parks, and the local hospital. For the libraries, our Public Buildings Department is planning to make much needed improvements to their facilities, specifically painting, new floors, and other upgrades for Walnut Cove, Danbury public libraries. These changes will make our libraries more inviting and hopefully attract new patrons to utilize these community centers. The county owns 5 parks and directly manages one, with that being Moortalk Park. The other 4, Pinnacle Lions Park, Germantown Park, Walnut Cove Lions Park, and East Walnut Cove Community Park, the county has management agreements with entities to oversee their operations. It is known that most of the county-owned parks need improvements, but without a Parks and Recreation Department, we don't have the capacity to manage improvements and operations for each. In October 2023, the county was gifted a 15.85-acre tract of land from Chestnut Street Investment, LLC, with a request that it was to be used for recreation purposes in the Francisco area of the county. With this land becoming a potential 6th county-owned park, proper planning is needed for all parks so that there is a foundation to build off of when improvements are made in the near future. For this reason, I recommend the approval of a Parks Master Plan to be completed with the Piedmont Triad Regional Council. This would create a foundation for improvements to our parks and would outline a multi-year process of structured goals for park redevelopment. Having this Park Master Plan would be extremely beneficial when applying for grant funds as well. In tune with developments to outdoor recreation, Stokes County was awarded a grant totaling $10,000 this year from Duke Energy for a Dan River mile marker signage project along the banks of the Dan River. With the thousands of citizens and visitors that use this river, this project will bring greater awareness to all sections of the 52 miles of river flowing through the county. Project efforts are aimed at increasing safety, education, and location awareness for the users of the river by color-coding sections along with mile numbers to coordinate with mileage points so that the river is completely marked. The county also looks forward to increasing the quality of life of our residents through tourism and support of local business. The state has passed a local act authorizing Stokes County to collect occupancy tax that lodging accommodations and overnight vacation rentals will charge visitors staying overnight in Stokes. The Board of Commissioners passed a resolution levying the tax, which will allow additional revenue to be collected to be used towards promoting tourism and supporting local businesses. One technological aspect that greatly improves citizen quality of life in the modern age is broadband. $2.4 million were appropriated by the Board of Commissioners in the last several years through ARPA funding for this purpose. The Board of Commissioners have invested the funding into improving broadband infrastructure and have paired this money with state grants to maximize these dollars. Through an agreement with the county, River Street Networks is making progress in many parts of Stokes with respect to increasing broadband access. We look forward to seeing the finished product and a greater number of citizens being granted access to broadband technologies. Positive changes are also being made in the county when it comes to medical care. The local critical access hospital that is owned by the county of Danbury will soon be seeing improvements as we are in the process of selecting a new operator through either the lease or purchase of the facility. Along with the $10 million in SCIF grant funding that the county received from the state for the hospital, the future of the hospital and medical care for all citizens in Stokes should improve. Summary and recommendations. In summary, my recommended budget attempts to maintain the current level of services while outlining the needs for the county that need to be addressed in an attempt to move the county forward. Over the course of the next several years, a plan will need to be developed and implemented for steps that can be taken to reduce expenditures and increase revenues for the successful operation of the county government. This budget increases the tax rate by 6 cents, along with appropriating county general fund dollars to balance the budget. This budget also increases the fire tax rate by 2 cents for the Fire Service District, Walnut Cove Fire District, and King Fire District. The budget continues to pay 100% of employees' health, dental, and vision care premiums and provides for a cost of living increase, including new market competitive pay scales. Past and present boards of commissioners continue to provide a very high level of government services to citizens with limited tax increase. While there is still a lot of work to be done, there are a lot of accomplishments that the governing body and county staff members have made and continue to make for moving the county forward. As we go through the budget process and work on approving an operating budget for fiscal year 24-25, there are a wide array of options to consider for how to best address the problems we face. These are problems that we need to deal with now in order to limit the county's risk and liability. The main issue at hand is generating sufficient revenues to keep services at an acceptable level without reducing the county's general fund balance to a substandard percentage. It is my formal recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners adopt my recommended budget of $72,531,453 for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. I would like to thank Finance Director Lisa Lankford and Assistant Finance Director Tracy Aaron for the countless hours they spent helping me put together this budget. I would also like to thank HR Director Jamie Clark for the time we spent putting together the personnel recommendation, and Tori May for assisting with formatting and graphics. Lastly, I would like to thank all of the Stokes County employees for continuing to provide the best services to citizens regardless of conditions. A copy of this document has been filed will be filed with the clerk to the board and will be posted to the Stokes County website where it will be available for public inspection. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber. That was a great job. At this time, we're going to go to public comments. So we're going to open the floor for public comments at 2:55 p.m. And the first person we have signed up is our Health Department Director, Tammy Martin.
I just wanted to formally introduce our opioid prevention coordinator that we hired. It's Savannah Hayes. She started 2 weeks ago now, and she's getting her feet wet. She's doing training. She signed up for a lot. She's met with Derek and Laura, getting the backstory to the committee. And if you ever want her to come back, just let me know if you want a more in-depth meeting with her, but I just want to bring her by so you have a face and a name.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Anybody have a question at all so far?
Not yet. Not
Come
yet.
on with something. I'll come back.
Go ahead and get your feet wet.
Okay, thank you.
Just a reminder that when you come up to speak, you have a maximum limit of 4 minutes. If you're in the middle of finishing your speech, I'll let you go on a little bit, but it can't go on too much after that. Next up is Geraldine Altott. Come on up. Yeah, come on up.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, my name is Geraldine Keaton Oddie, and I live on Keaton Road. I'm here to say that we are opposed to the request to rezone 22.54 acres of a quarter parcel at the entrance to our established neighborhood as commercial property and the placement of a proposed cell tower at the same location. We understand that this matter will formally come before the board at its next meeting. However, we would like to take this opportunity to address several issues that we should all be concerned. We were informed during the public information meeting and by the applicant's agent that the proposed facility would consist of a 195-foot monopole accompanied by ground equipment within a 50 by 50-foot compound. In the subsequent notice of a pending rezoning action, their petition described their desire to rezone property from residential agricultural to conditional zoning. However, it was not until after we filed a request under the North Carolina's Freedom of Information Act for a complete package of information that would be provided to the planning board that we learned that the applicant was no longer satisfied with just a 50 by 50-foot compound. According to the rezoning request, the requirements had expanded to encompass a rezoning parcel size of 22.54 acres. It was very interesting to finally learn that the changed wording made all the difference in the notice of pending rezoning action mailed to the property owners. It is totally different than the two documents included in the planning board's information package and identified as a rezoning request and public notice 2024. What is the significance of all this? The former refers to a description of the tax parcel, confirming the applicant's interest for a 190-foot monopole cell tower, as stated by the applicant in the public information meeting. While the latter is a completely different request by the applicant, not only to erect a tower, but a petition to rezone all 22.54 acres. It is critically important to understand that these last two documents were never sent contiguous, adjacent, or interested landowners in written correspondence, but they did find their way into the planning board information package. It was these two documents that clearly laid out the applicant's requirements. I may be mistaken, however, but I don't believe that the applicant's agent even mentioned this small detail in the presentation to the planning board. In any case, I don't believe for 1 minute that these events occur by happenstance. In the original Stokes County zoning application, they submitted an ordinance compliance statement and narrative, executed option and lease agreement, and overall site plan, which ostensibly only mentions that they require approximately 10,000 square feet for the erection of the facility, but in actual fact, they failed to mention their intention to submit a rezoning request for the entire 22.54 acres. In my professional experience, this reaches a level of unethical business practice that I've not experienced, and certainly does not represent the character of our community. The rezoning request is unreasonable and inconsistent with how other cell tower requests have been handled in the past. Examples include the Brims Grove Road, Coon Road, the Warrior Farm Road, and the North Old 52 Road site. In closing, with reference to page 3 of the applicant's unsigned and undated narrative and compliance statement with Stokes County zoning ordinance, in their summary statement, they state, quote, "The proposed wireless communications facility site meets all the conditions and specifications of Moore County, Moore County," unquote. We, on the other hand, are proud to say that we live in Stokes County. In my humble opinion, it would appear that there could have been a could have been a closer scrutiny of the applicant's request. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Osing.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Frank Otting. I also live on Keaton Road. In continuation, the question still remains, why does the cell phone company request the conversion of 22.5 acres from residential agricultural to conditional zoning for a 195-foot monopole cell tower that sits on approximately a quarter acre of leased land? Of equal importance is, why is the site being handled differently from other cell tower sites? In my opinion, it appears that this transaction is nothing short of a recharacterization of the applicant's originally stated facility requirements. It is nothing less than a concerted effort by the site owner and applicant to obtain a conditional zoning permit for the entire 22.5 acre parcel, although their specified requirements are only for a quarter acre. This would provide the site owner a conditional zoning permit without requiring full disclosure of their intentions, and can also be interpreted as partial payment by the applicant to the site owner for securing the location. This applicant assumes the usual legal and administrative risk associated with driving the proposal through the county's rezoning process, and while the site owner benefits from receiving a conditional zoning permit for the entire property, this appears to be an indirect way for the site owner to skirt the county zoning ordinance approval process by piggybacking over the applicant's zoning request. They do so without having full disclosure of their intentions regarding the remaining acreage, to the detriment of the residents, of the community, and the planning board. In the future, the county would look at the property and surrounding area and conclude that since it's already zoned conditional zoning, they would simply proceed with the next step in the approval process. This type of activity is certainly deleterious to adjoining owners, local residents, and the greater Stokes County community. This appears to be a commercially deceptive practice and is designed to mislead the local community. The owner of the property on which the proposed cell tower is located does not live on this property, is not even a resident of Stokes County. In closing, we are opposed to both the rezoning request and the placement of a proposed cell tower at this location. The Hanging Rock State Advisory Committee voted unanimously, and the Planning Board voted 5-1 to reject the applicant's request to place a cell tower at this location. We're not against the cell tower. However, we respectfully request and strongly encourage the board to consider another location, more in keeping with the goals of the county. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Janet Witt.
Thank you. I thank our Stokes County Commissioners again for their dedication to have health care in all areas of Stokes County. Can everyone hear me okay? The last time everyone said they couldn't hear me well. Can you hear me okay? And allow me, as the mayor of the town of Danbury, to voice my concerns again. This is in reference to the request for proposals to Stokes County Commissioners for the lease of Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital, Inc. in Danbury, J.R. Jones Medical Center, and King and Family Medical of Pine Hall. And my plea to Stokes County Commissioners to accept requests for proposals to lease Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital, Inc. submitted from Stokes Medical Management Group, a local and secure group of investors led by Pam Tillman, with plans in place to immediately begin renovation, building, and repairs on Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital. The hospital was built in 1954 and needs renovation now. Out of concern for my town and surrounding communities that include Westfield, Francisco, Slaussonville, Patrick County, Sandy Ridge, Walnut Cove, Pine Hall, and King, I sincerely ask commissioners before consideration of Novant or its affiliates request for proposal contract to address clarification and to be held accountable for ironclad commitment times and dates for renovation, building of Stokes Reynolds Memorial, Inc. And revitalization wording changed to renovation. Our hospital needs much more than fluffed up pillows to include ironclad contract written of where and when our for sure 10 million grant money is going now, and when and where Novant's proposed 50 million is going over a 5-year period. To clarify contract, to state the following: Novant will not close down Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital, Inc., or its 24/7 emergency department and its 99 grandfathered in by the state of North Carolina critical care access beds and skilled nursing for the lifetime of their lease. I feared if Novant's contract wording is not clarified on the above concerns, our Danbury Hospital and emergency room could possibly be left standing. Our community loves our current clinical and medical staff. The care you receive from a small local community hospital is unsurpassed, as you will hear over and over again. Research studies show that the bigger the hospital, the less quality and attentive personal care you will receive. We just cannot take the chance of our hospital closing down. I'm told that that there can be 2 hospitals. There can be a hospital in Danbury and there can be one in King, and if it's managed right and skilled nursing beds are added, it can be sustainable on its own. Novant purchased the medical building and around 21 acres of land in 2018 at 216 Moore Road in King, and now operating as Novant Health Medical View Medical. And in building on this location, a 24/7 emergency room and hospital is desperately needed in King. As Mayor McCraw and Mayor Pro Tem have told me, there are some 1,500 homes going up. And he has also informed me he definitely welcomes Novant in King. I fully support Novant in King. I just don't feel that's right for our Danbury little hospital. To date, I don't understand what there was a CON exempt that's been available for 2 years that Novant could have used, and as far as I know, that was not applied for. Does Novant think that there will be another competitive battle with like happened in 2001 and 2003, and to use Danbury as a stepping stone to close down to get there? I say no. Let them fight their own battles. As there is no economic impact feasibility study done at this time, I can only imagine how the closing of our Danbury's hospital, along with the closing of our schools, will impact the northern side of Stokes County. I have asked Danbury's administrator to date, has Novant sent a building contractor?
You're way over 4 minutes now, okay?
Okay.
All right,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Catherine Converse. And Texie.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I'm Catherine Converse. I live on Highway 66 North in Westfield. And we are here to talk about that potential 6th park. As you already know, the Francisco community has dreamed of having a park in the area for many years. And we're very grateful for the Blacks' gift of the property and to you all for allowing us to be part of the planning and implementation process. Before we get started, Texie's going to share some pictures, and information with you all in case you haven't had a chance to visit the property just yet. This is the actual map of the park area. Yeah. And this is the map of the area, and it shows the school so that you have a little bit more, so you can figure out where it is exactly. For the frame of reference. Francisco community is unique. We're a very active community with a proven track record of success in planning and implementing large projects such as Farm Fest and the upgrade and ongoing operations of the Northern Stokes Food Pantry. And we look forward to applying this same energy as we work with you all to plan and implement the park. We understand the county's putting together the master plan for parks and recreation that will be funded in part by grants. We are experienced in making things happen on a shoestring, and we would very much like to apply some of that experience, energy, and enthusiasm to making use of the property even before the grant process is completed. For instance, this year we would like to begin creating trails, erecting temporary signage announcing the park, and installing a monarch butterfly way station. And Texie's handed you some information about the way station and a strategy for some signage too. We are prepared to reach out to NC Forestry to assist in preparing the wooded area of the property for installation of walking trails. We recommend removing small invasive trees and plants and conducting a prescribed burn in conjunction with forestry. Once those activities are complete, we have experienced trail builders in the community who can lead us in an effort to create the trails throughout the property. We're prepared to submit a grant application for the Chimney Swift Tower, as you have a picture of there. Not only will the tower attract these insect-loving birds, but it can also be used as an anchor for park signage. And the application window for that grant is later this year, when we can certainly handle that. Finally, we would like to install a monarch way station. This garden would provide an opportunity for children to observe the butterflies up close, and it would support the monarch's migration and help offset the loss of habitat that threatens the butterflies. An officially recognized monarch way station in Stokes County could also help bring visitors to the county. We believe these three efforts will engage the community and provide the county an opportunity to shine while the master plans for both the county and the Francisco Park are completed. And we look forward to sharing the community's input about the park with you all in the coming months.
I'm Texie Jessup. I live at 6621 NC Highway 89 West. That's downtown Francisco. I'm here to invite you to come to Francisco on June the 8th. We will have a meeting that will begin the process of planning this park. We have been invited by Stokes County.
Keep going.
Okay. I've got four more.
Yeah.
We have been invited to help plan this park, and we are trying to include anybody in not just Francisco, but this is a county park. So we would like to have people from all over the county to help us plan this park. We have a couple of people who have submitted some plans, and we plan by June the 8th at 3 o'clock at the Francisco Presbyterian Church picnic shelter. We figured if it's a park, it needs to be outdoors. So we'd like to invite you. We'd like anybody that would like to take a part in it to come visit with us.
Thank you.
Taxi. Thank you.
Interpret that. Bossy? The Bossy?
Service Street.
I think there he is.
My name is Sri Ananda Sarvasri. I live at 1060 Tyler Road in Walnut Cove. I just wanted to bring you an update on the situation with the pandemic that we have experienced. I've given you a paper regarding future possibilities and dangers. This paper is statistics in this paper is not from me. It's from a good friend of mine, a 50-year friend of mine, who is a PhD biologist, and he has presented this to me and suggested that I try to get this information out, what's going on. There is a link to a video in this paper, and I would like you to all watch this video. It's long. It's over 2 hours long, but it is packed with information, and one of the things included in the video is an antidote. And I can tell you from experience that the antidote works. So anyone who got the shot or is having long COVID symptoms or any of that should know that the antidote is available, and it's very simple. And that's included in that video, so I suggest you study that. That video, we've watched it twice now, and we've implemented the antidote, and it does work. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, Richie?
Kay Ritchie, I live at 1065 Ernest Nelson Road, just down the road. I appreciate the commissioners for this chance to speak. Like some of you, I'm having a hard time acknowledging that I'm a senior. I'm retired from full-time public work and working full-time on the farm. With the aches and pains it brings, reminds me that I am aging. And I have been very fortunate to be able to take part in some of the enhanced services from the Senior Center, with yoga classes in Francisco and Danbury, as well as some of the classes in Walnut Cove, and just wanted to speak very highly about those classes and our ability to continue them. Many of us are getting older, and the services that are provided are very helpful to many of us. I know there's other folks here that have been participating in some of those classes as well. You may want to raise their hand. There you go, the people. So, just wanted to let you know that those classes and services are appreciated, and hope that you can continue them. Thank you.
Thank you. Oniga, and I can't read the last name.
Omega Blackburn.
Thank you.
I had no plans to speak at all when I came here today, but I was encouraged by someone named Paula, who sent me a text message to encourage me to come here and support senior services in Stokes County. Most of you don't know me because I did not go to school here. I was not raised here. I've lived here since 2006. I have found Stokes County to be a very closed community if you did not go to school here or know anybody here prior to moving here. However, some of you may remember me for the past 20 years of bitching to you via email and on this, well, in the other building, about the lack of internet services in this county. I want to appreciate that River Street now offers high-speed internet where I live at 3618 Moore Springs Road, which is a Verizon dead zone. However, I can't afford it, and when I spoke to my children in Richmond, Virginia, they offered to help until they found out that River Street wanted $100 a month, and they said, "You're fine with River Street, right? With Brightspeed, Mom, and we'll see what happens with time. Maybe they'll get cheaper, but it's more unaffordable than most urban areas that I'm aware of in this country." The other thing I want to thank whoever gave the grant for these seniors exercises, the one here in Danbury on Wednesdays and Fridays. Because I'm retired now, I can't live on Social Security, so I've had to get part-time jobs. So I can't always go to the Wednesday and Friday afternoon exercise classes when they offer it. as we grow older, the number one reason why people can't age in their own homes is because certified nursing assistants can't maneuver through their junk and garbage in their homes. We have firefighters who have to wait until a crew can come and physically carry someone out with those rescue boards because the gurneys can't get in the homes. So how can these people declutter their homes if they can't bend over and tie their own shoes? So all I can do is pray. The other question I have is, why is there no indoor pool accessible to Stokes County residents? I have to go and drive 20 minutes each way to the King YMCA, which may or may not be available and open to services at the time that I'm available to use them. I've been spoiled rotten. In Virginia Beach, we had the ocean. You've got a snake-filled Dan River here. But in Virginia Beach, we had 5 major rec centers with indoor pools that had both training pools as well as competitive pools. And they had the ocean. Here, all we have is a snake-filled river. As we get older, our joints can't handle climbing up Hanging Rock Trail. And physically, warm water is the best thing to move these joints until you get your hip or knee replacement. And some of us won't be able to get hip and knee replacements for various and other reasons. So all I can do is encourage you to support senior services. The other thing that I found very troubling was the first speaker tonight said that I believe she said 23% of the Stokes population is on Medicaid, Medicaid. And so I question, where is that 23% going to find the extra $100 a month personal property taxes that we're looking for? So I've said my 2 cents. Thank you very much. And now I'm going for a half-hour drive to the pool.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public comment section at 3:25 p.m. At this time, it's time for our comments from the commissioners and our manager. So we'll start with Commissioner Cox.
Thank you. Can't steal your thunder.
No.
But I've got other thunder here. So first of all, we have graduation coming up. So I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to all the graduates of Stokes County Schools out there. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to attend all of the graduations, but that is something that when I was on the Board of Education, I really enjoyed doing, was going to graduations, and I wanted to say congratulations to all the graduates out there. I want to thank Amber for the budget message, and send my personal thanks to the Finance Department for all the hard work that went into that budget. And now we have our work cut out for us, so we'll be meeting and going over that budget. Thank you for the ones of you who came to speak about the park at Francisco, and I'm excited to see where that's going to go and what all can be accomplished there. I love the idea of the butterflies and the trails and things like that, and I'm all for y'all being able to do as much as you can while we're waiting on some grants and things like that, and going ahead with that. And welcome to Savannah, the opioid new coordinator. Look forward to working with her and making a difference in that area. And one final thing is we're going into the just finished Memorial Day weekend. That holiday always hits our family pretty close because we did lose my great uncle in World War II, and he was killed in action in Bougainville Island in the Pacific Theater. So thank you to all of the service members and the families of the ones who have lost loved ones in duty, killed in action. And thank you for the ones who came out to support the enhanced senior services, senior center. Thank you to Paula and all she's done to spread that across our county. And I do favor supporting keeping those exercise classes and things going on with county funding. And I'm sure Paula's got more grants up her sleeve somewhere. So hopefully there's even more grant money coming in some form or fashion, but in the meantime, hopefully we can make the difference and keep all that going. So, No, I left the pole vaulter for you.
You're up, Commissioner Wood.
It feels great to look out there and see all the white hair other than me and Ronnie. Thank y'all for coming. I know it was brutal. I guess they forgot to tell you the budget was going to be mentioned. You've done a great job, Amber. Some good news. Y'all probably ought to, I want to reach out to David Lee Williams from North Stokes, who won first place in the pole vault. I thought he might be the only one ever to do that, but Miss Cox corrected me. Paula and the other, Reba and Vicky, if everyone in this county would work together like y'all do, we wouldn't have no problems. We would not get the complaints. Thank you.
Mr. Morris.
I'd like to welcome everybody for being here and participating in our meeting today on a variety of interesting subjects. Also like to welcome our elected officials that are joining us today from King and Danbury, and I don't think Walnut Cove's here, but it's good to have you guys with us. I'd like to recognize Amber and Lisa and all the staff that worked on the budget message. I think Amber broke my record for the longest budget message. I was holding for about many years. So
I tried to keep it short, but it didn't work.
But you guys all did a really good job on putting that together, and now the burden's off of you and it's on to us, so I know that really feels good. From experience, I can tell you it does. So thanks again for coming, and look forward to having you in the future.
Mr. Mendenhall.
Thank you, sir. Thank y'all for being here. It means a lot to look out in the crowd, as I know most of you. This is my 8th year as county commissioner, and really each year has promoted or provided different things that will always cause different opinions, and that's what's so great about America. First, I want to recognize all the Gold Star families. Because we wouldn't have the freedom to be sitting up here right now talking if it wasn't for our Gold Star families that gave their lives. Someone in their family that gave a life so we could still have the freedom for this. So to all the Gold Star families, and if we have anyone amongst us, thank you. To all the people that's watching us on YouTube today, we appreciate your interest in our governmental process. To the Francisco group, I wish you nothing but the best with your part, and I hope it goes wonderfully. There's a lot of people in the audience that I know that I wish I could single out, but I would be here as long as Amber's presentation, and I'm not going to do that. I know y'all sit quite a while for that, but I do want to recognize Amber. I thought you did an excellent presentation. I thought you did a good job, and I thought you laid it out in a very, in a manner that was easily conducive to recognizing what you were putting forward. And that thank you also goes to Lisa and her finance department, and to Jamie and the HR department. Thank you to all of y'all. Looking forward to working with the opioid coordinator. Good to have you on board. And you said you wanted some questions. If you give me about a month, I'll have plenty for you. You can ask Tammy, she'll tell you I'll have you some. But I don't know what to say. This weekend was special to me. My father served in the Korean War, and he was fortunate enough to come back. But he did, through God's grace, get a Bronze Star for some things he did over there. And I had 2 sons that tackled the Afghanistan war. So Memorial Day and Veterans Day is very special to me. And to all our representatives, as Rick said, to all our reps from Danbury and King, thank y'all for coming. And just want to say, I hope everyone had a safe Memorial Day weekend, and I hope you enjoyed it. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Amber, you want to say a few words?
I'll just say welcome. Thank you for being here. I think I've said enough. Yeah.
Thank everybody for coming and for letting us hear your comments, your input. This is a great testament of what our county is, where we want to get insight. We want to get the comments. We may not always agree on the end result, but it's nice to know what you support, what you don't support, and I know certainly, we do take that under consideration. And from that point on, even numerous phone calls, there'll be phone calls coming in, but we take on various issues, and we try to make the best decision that we can make. And then sometimes even with how much money that we have. Memorial Day, I'll just add this, that we can never forget where we came from, especially people in our armed forces who were willing to give their life so we could continue to live in a republic. And I've said this many times, especially in the public safety sector, when an officer, or whether it be EMS, anybody public safety, when they lose their life, especially in the line of duty, it affects that family for the rest, generation after generation. So again, thanks, for the people that are willing to serve in the armed forces and the ones that gave the ultimate sacrifice. And at that time, that's all I have. So we will go to the next item on the agenda. Before we do that, I'm going to read the conflict of interest. Before moving further, does any board member have a conflict with any of the items on the agenda for today, or one that could be perceived as a conflict of interest? Nope. Okay. All right, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now we're going to the information agenda. And the first thing that we have is the recognition of Mac McKenzie. And I believe Commissioner Wood and Commissioner Mendenhall may be involved in this.
Thank you. I'm glad to. I'll try not to be long-winded here, and Keith, if you have anything to add after I get through. As most of you know, I had 3 principalships. I was at Sandy Ridge, Nancy Reynolds, and North Stokes. Last 7 years of my principalship duties at North Stokes, before I went to the superintendent's job, I got to work with a man, and I learned a lot of things from him. He and I traveled many places. He would take the team. I would show up in my car, and I would relax and let him do his job. And he coached 2 sports. I know he coached, when I was there, he was only coaching 1 sport, which was women's tennis. But before I got there, he coached basketball, girls basketball also. And you may say, well, what's unusual about that? Well, I know right now how difficult that is. I'm going to put this back on me, because I'm going to read his plaque to you in just a minute, and I'm going to give you a few words that I believe in this man. First word is excellence. Second word is he would not accept mediocrity. And the third word was loyalty to one school. He gave all of his life devoted to North Stokes High School. And it was my honor to work 7 years with him. He wanted 1 year not to coach, and he called me at home. And he said, Mr. Mendenhall, I missed it so much. Will you take me back? And I said, oh, you've only won so many state championships. Sure, come on back. But he and I grew a friendship. I know I've been fortunate enough to be nominated for the North Carolina Wrestling Hall of Fame, which will be voted on in October. Whether I am voted in or not, there's no man that deserves recognition more than this man. Now I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to pass it down to Keith and see if he wants to add anything. But it says from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame. Julian Mack McKenzie, Danbury, North Carolina. Beloved coach of multiple sports at North Stokes High School for 50 years. Started the women's tennis program with 479 wins. 17-time Coach of the Year. 2-time Coach of the Year in women's basketball. Won 21 conference, 25 regional, and 14 state titles. And he was inducted into the North Carolina Hall of Fame in 2024. And before we give him a round of applause, Keith, would you like to add anything to that?
I just want to, Mac, we go way back. Come on up. The next statement is going to be hard to believe. I was a student at North Stokes when he was starting. And he was awesome. And I remember you on the sidelines. Did you help coach football one year when I was playing? That's what I thought.
You left that out on there.
I left that out. But, and then we worked together some summers at Hanging Rock and had a blast. And what I will remember most is what happened recently. There's not an individual that was thrilled so much that I won commissioner than that man right there. Come up and get your plaque.
Hold up, we'd like to get a picture of you, Matt.
We're going to get a picture too.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You mean a lot to us.
Look at his hair and looks the same as it did.
Here.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yes.
All your
Yes.
Thank you so much. Everybody likes you.
Yes, unless do you want to make?
I want to make a speech.
Okay. He said he did not want to make a speech. So. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This goes with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Lisa, could you run that back to him so he can put it back in there?
At this time, the board would like to recognize Brad Delp's retirement, and EMS Director Brandon Gentry will present. Thank you, Brandon.
How are y'all this afternoon? Just like to congratulate Brad on 29 years of service to Stokes County EMS. Been here since May of '95. I've been here with him since '99. He's made a lot of lot of changes in people's lives throughout the community in his 29 years. He's been a good paramedic, supervisor the last 4 years, co-worker, and a friend. And we greatly appreciate his service for 29 years to Stokes EMS.
Would you like to make a comment?
So, I wasn't born in North Carolina, but my parents moved to King, Stokes County, when at a young, very age. So I ended up growing up in King, going to school in Stokes County, ended up finding a career in Stokes County, which I feel very blessed at, very blessed for this, and be able to retire from here.
Thank you. Get a picture, come up and we'll get a picture.
Service, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any commissioners want to make a quick comment before Brad walks out? Any comments?
Hope you have a great retirement.
No.
Yes, you earned it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank y'all.
And next up is King's Senior Center presentation, and Paula Hall will present. Welcome, Paula, back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. There she is, she's with me. Thank you for the opportunity to come back to share some progress for the Stokes Senior Center expanded services. Reba Dodson is with me today. We did share a presentation last month to a group in Raleigh, and I shared with them that second only to serving all these faces behind you, the best part of what we're doing has been a partnership between our two senior centers and senior services. It's been a true privilege to work with Reba and that partnership, and see how that partnership is making the county better. Also with me today is Vicki East with Senior Services. I also wanted to acknowledge the mayor and mayor pro tem from King. We also have some folks from the Stokes Aging Services Planning Committee, who all of them have been so supportive in what we've been doing and supporting us along the way. I did prepare a short PowerPoint to help you understand where we've been, where we are now, and where we hope to go. So, if you'll just follow along with me. Couple of statistics that's important to understand. North Carolina is currently 8th in the nation for population age 65 and older. 85 counties, Stokes County being one of those, as Amber stated in her presentation, have more adults age 60 plus than children 18 and younger. It's projected that between 2020 and 2040, the population in North Carolina age 60 and up is going to increase by 40%, 65 and up by 52%, and a whopping 116% increase in those age 85 and older. We're living longer, and Stokes County is no exception for that. A couple of important things that are important, and again, Amber, you may have picked up on some of this in her presentation, but 8 out of every 10 adults age 65 and up in North Carolina are living with one or more chronic diseases. 1 in 4 live alone, and the majority of them are living with a primary source of income as their Social Security. They're living Social Security check to Social Security check. So just an overview. Last time that Reba and I were here, we were just getting ready to launch, right? We were just getting ready to start having some surveys. To recap what's happened, in late spring of 2023, our two brick and mortar senior centers, King Senior Center and Walnut Cove Senior Center, operating under Senior Services and myself under the City of King, each received funding from a grant made possible through ARPA, it's American Rescue Plan Act, that allowed us to partner in providing those things that we do every day at our senior centers, those programs and services to seniors age 60 and older at remote sites in unserved or underserved areas of our county. King Senior Center received $80,000 out of that ARPA grant. Senior Services received $40,000, with all the monies designated for just remote programming. So all of those dollars, none of them required a match, so there was no burden from the City of King or the county for that money. All of that money was to bring our programs and services to these remote areas. And this right here was actually my Google Maps search. This is what we used, Reba, myself, and Vicki. I printed off this little map, and we got in a car and we drove around the county identifying where are we gonna land, what areas of the county need us most. And this is what we identified. Francisco, Lawsonville, Sandy Ridge, Danbury, Pine Hall, Walnut Cove. Walnut Cove and King were already having our programs and services. And then we had launched a few remote classes already at Oak Grove and Lawsonville, Oak Grove Baptist Church, which is on the Madison side of Stokes County, and we launched that early on just to kind of test drive is this something that people would come to? It was overwhelming. Each week we had over 20, 25 participants attending those classes. So we knew that we could have some success in those areas. We identified 6 sites, and these are our 6 sites: Life Bright Community Campus in Pine Hall, the Northeast Stokes Volunteer Fire Department in Sandy Ridge, Oak Grove Baptist Church, Stokes Cooperative Extension Office here in Danbury, Lawsonville Community Center in Lawsonville, and Francisco Community Center. Last summer, it was the last week of June, and this was right after we came and spoke to you last. Reba and I had a whole week that we went out to each of these 6 sites and held community meetings. We partnered with local Ruritan groups, churches, different community members, because we felt very strongly that we wanted the communities themselves, the older adults, to have a voice in what we were bringing to them. We didn't want to just show up and say, this is what we think you need. We wanted them to tell us, because each of those communities are a little different, and we wanted to hear from them and bring them something of value. We also asked during these sessions, it wasn't just about what types of programs and services they wanted, but we also were curious what days of the week, what times, what time is convenient for you. We gleaned all that information, we compiled it, and we started to create a schedule. Publicity was key to what we were about to do. We created flyers and calendars, and we distributed them all over the county: churches, community groups, Department of Social Services, hospitals, fire departments. We created some local newspaper articles and ads. We developed a weekly email at these community meetings. We gathered some email addresses, and we created a weekly email to be sure that we were keeping people in the loop about plans. We did share some social media posts, again, with some of our partners. We don't have a social media presence just ourselves, our entity, but we did use some of our partners and Walnut Cove and King in getting that information out. And then we also had engaged in a local community health fair in Pine Hall. So what was it that we brought? We developed, our goal was to bring at least 2 exercise classes at each of these 6 sites per week. So here's a couple of pictures of a couple of those classes. Classes include a wide variety of different programs, lots of classes where people of all abilities can come and exercise. Okay, so whether they are on the floor doing yoga, in a chair, standing up, sitting down, line dancing. We've actually just started a walk live class, so in every one of those classes they're walking a mile. We're getting ready to add, and y'all be on the lookout, cardio drumming is coming really soon. We're super excited about that. And a hiking group. One of the assets, particularly at the Pine Hall site, is they have an outdoor walking trail that we want to utilize and getting people outdoors. These things are currently happening, and they are on our schedule in June. We also have one special activity because we know that senior centers aren't just exercise classes. We bring special cultural arts. We have speakers that talk about things that impact seniors most, like fraud and scams, but we have very engaged communities that come to these special activities each month. This right here was our barn quilt painting class last week. In demand that we're going to repeat that in July at a different site. These are some of the monthly programs that we've included. Herb gardens, and we try to partner. One of the things that we pride ourselves on too is using people that are local to our county. Last month we had a florist come and talk about floral arranging, and it was important that we use somebody in the Lawsonville community. Same thing with genealogy, jewelry making, painting. You can see all of those things. Healthy diet changes, taxes, Medicare. We haven't just been limited to those exercise classes and painting classes. We're providing seniors in these unserved and underserved areas of our county with access to free tax preparation and Medicare counseling and all those things that they need to be better seniors. This is an example, hot off the press. This is our June calendar, and this is what a typical monthly calendar looks like. You can see there's lots of opportunities. People are attending these classes. It's not just siloed into one specific site. Several of them go to multiple sites across the county. It's color-coded. What you see in yellow are those special activities, but they're color-coded by site and Monday through Friday. We have a lot of stuff going on. We do create flyers. These are some examples of some of the flyers. When I mentioned earlier that we do a weekly email, we have a flyer that's printed on the back of our calendars that we print paper copies and distribute it, and then we also send out weekly emails and use social media. One of the areas that we're actually getting ready to expand a little bit more are tech classes. We have, during the pandemic, we started teaching tech classes at our centers, and we know that older adults in other areas of the county also need some tech assistance. You can go to a Verizon store or any of those service providers, and they give you cell phones, but they don't give you instruction manuals. Okay, so it's hard for all of us to really understand those cell phones. So we provide free tech classes with curriculums that we're getting ready to start handing out as well. That's large print, written for older adults, that teach older adults how to use their cell phones, tablets, even their personal computers. So we're connecting them to their communities. This is a timeline of what we've done. We started last March with starting to have some of those conversations, developing the grant. May is when we really started working on what it was going to look like. We had these MOUs signed for sites. We developed the community surveys. Last June is when we surveyed the communities. July, we started putting it all together and recruiting instructors, which has been a challenge. Trying to find certified, people that can go and lead some of these classes. In August, we were ready to launch. We were putting all the final pieces together, getting the publicity out there, and then September is when we started. Feet on the ground at these sites. Let's see, where are we at? By January, we wanted to evaluate a little bit. We were several months in, and so we created a survey to say, hey, how are we doing? What classes are you participating in? Which ones would you like to see come? So we were, again, continuing to get their feedback midstream. In March, we decided to measure, as a suggestion from our PTRC, to glean their satisfaction. What is the true impact, not just their opinions about what we're doing, but we wanted to measure the impact of what we were doing, which is the information I'm getting ready to share because it's important for you to know what that impact. We're continuing to add activities, add classes, and then in May, we're really advocating. We're advocating for seniors, not just here, but we're actually taking things that we hear from them and taking it to the aging planning group. Things like senior housing and transportation is huge, access to health care. All of those issues are important to an aging community. Challenges along the way. There have been a lot of them. The first three are the biggest ones: communication, communication, communication. How do we get information and publicize what it is that we're doing to engage people, encourage them to come to these remote sites, particularly people who are not on the internet, don't have access to the internet. So we're really relying on the community. Word of mouth gets a lot of people in the door, right, Rima? We also have been challenged a little bit about things that we can provide at these sites because there's no Wi-Fi at some of the sites, or even cell phones might not, you don't have good service at some of the sites. But we manage, and we're doing a really good job. And again, finding certified instructors. We have developed not just our partnership, but other partnerships with some community folks. Stokes Cooperative Extension has been very generous in helping, coming in and offering some high quality programs. Insight Human Services has also provided some things. Stokes News is always interested in what we're doing and letting us write articles and getting word out. The volunteer fire department up in Sandy Ridge always has open doors for us and has a great facility that brings the community together. Ruritan groups, can't say enough about them. They not only help us provide some spaces, but they help publicize it and get the word out. Oak Grove Baptist Church, been a supporter from day one. And then Life Bright Community Hospital, they were real eager to talk to us at the beginning, particularly in Pine Hall, because they want us to really engage that site and get those folks on that side of the county active there. So here's the survey. So the survey that I was mentioning a while ago about the impact that we were having, it was distributed throughout the month of March. These are the results. We distributed 80 surveys. 57 were returned. So this data that you're seeing are based on those 57 surveys. 33% say they volunteer more because of their participation through these expanded services. 53% know where to ask if they need a service. All of our participants know that they can call Reba in Walnut Cove, call Paula, or they can even, and I forgot to introduce Joanne Hall, who serves as our site coordinator. She is physically at all of these sites during the week. They know that they now have faces and names of people they can contact if they need assistance with transportation, with housing, with emergency services. If we don't have the answer, we're gonna get them some kind of help. 88% have more energy. 61% eat meals that are better for them. 89% see friends more often or make new ones. That one is huge. It decreases isolation, which we know coming out of the pandemic was a big one for us. 77% take better care of my health. One of our participants here behind me came up to me before we got started today, and she says, you know, since November, since I started coming in November, I've lost 40 pounds, and I am in the best health that I've ever been in. If that's not a testimony, I don't know what is. 91% have learned new things. 89% more physically active. 93% have something to look forward to. 70% feel happier or more satisfied with their life. 77% feel more able to stay independent. 96% feel that senior center activities have had a positive impact on their life, and 100% would recommend them to a friend or family member. They're impacting our seniors tremendously. So ARPA funding is set to expire, okay? It's set to expire at the end of September 30th. At a time when we're witnessing the critical impact that these classes and programs are having for over 100 adults. I think today when I looked at my senior center data, we were at 103 regular participants, age 60 and older. We've worked hard to forge community partnerships to make accessibility to classes easier and bring the programs to the people that we know can improve their overall health and wellness, decrease isolation, and contribute to their quality of life. We're very grateful to all the support that the City of King, Stokes County, all the leadership has given us in this partnership, and we really do look forward to what collaborations may be down the road. We see the critical impact that we're having every single day on our aging population. As we consider what these sites and programs are going to look like come October, we're asking that you as county commissioners consider some level of continued funding for the expanded services for the adults in Stokes County who are benefiting from these vital programs. And our participants are asking that. Our older adults, the feedback has just been tremendous about what this partnership is providing for them. It's important to all the Stokes County aging population. And as you could see in the survey, older adults who participate regularly in senior center based activities and classes, they're healthier, they're more independent, they're happier, and they're in a better position to engage in their communities that they live in. While the grant helped us to plant a garden, so to speak, you all have the capacity to keep it growing. I know you all share in our appreciation of the gifts that older adults bring to our communities, and we invite you any day to stop by our senior centers in King, Walnut Cove, at any of the remote sites. I really invite you, we invite you to go to those remote sites and check it out. Because there are many, many great ways that the county is supporting older adults. Our adults are important to our county, no matter where they live, in all of these communities. We appreciate your time, we appreciate your consideration, and we look forward to these programs continuing. We really do.
Any comments or questions from the board?
All I hear is good things going on each side, so continue up the good work.
Mr. Morris?
Same thing for me, and I look forward to working the budget issue on this.
Commissioner Wood?
Sunday school. I take my seat. Neighbor, friend, says, you're getting ready to do budgets. I'm praying for you. I says, well, thank you. She says, don't cut out my line dance. Y'all do a great job.
Thank you for all y'all do. You all do a great job, and I would love to see all this continue. and we'll be talking about it during the budget. But thank you for all you do. Like you say, it's an aging population. We're all right there with you.
A good presentation.
Very good. Very much good information, for sure.
Yeah, that's a real example of how metrics are supposed to work. Makes it very easy to understand what's going on when you have great metrics like that.
We presented last month at the state, the Ann Johnson Institute, it's the Center for Senior Center Development for directors, and we were invited to come and share. So senior center directors from across the state saw a lot of what you just saw, and we've been fielding a lot of questions about that, and some folks from the Department of Health and Human Services are taking note of our partnership, and it's a great thing for Stokes County.
And you show a lot of compassion, all they all do, for what you do, and you really enjoy what you do is work. For you, it's probably not even work. It's just something that's in your life passion. So I appreciate it, and I assure you that I support some level of funding, to keep those programs going. So, thank you. Next up is our fiscal year 24-25 plan update with Zach Brook with Cypress Benefit Solutions presenting. Hello, Zach.
How are y'all?
Been good.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Zach Brock with Cypress Benefit Solutions. We have David Judge with Crescent Health as well with us today. Today, we're going to go through our 2024 and 2025 benefits renewal document. So what we're going to look at is plan year objectives. That was the objectives that we set out to accomplish at the beginning of the plan year this year. We're going to talk about Crescent Health Solutions and who they are as a partner. High-cost claimants that we've kind of dealt with this year, and stop-loss analysis. We're going to discuss the on-site clinic, the continuation of building that out for employees and their dependents, and then also the wellness program that we're rolling out this year for you all. So at the beginning of this year, we had a couple of objectives to accomplish. One was a more efficient long-term TPA partner. There were some concerns with med costs when it came to employees dealing with them and times taking a long time to get things resolved. And just a more long-term outlook with the TPA partner. So we landed with Crescent. Excited to have them here today and talk about their story as well. Alternative options for high-cost claimants, so better ways to manage those claims, put them into disease management or chronic management programs. Improve medical management and wellness resources, so that will be some of those programs as well. And then the wellness program that we're going to talk about towards the end. Increase utilization in the on-site clinic, which we'll also touch on. We want to continue to improve on that. And then maximize the pharmacy savings that are out there.
Good afternoon. My name is David Judge. I'm Senior Vice President with Crescent Health Solutions. And first of all, thank you for selecting us to be your third-party administrator for the coming plan year. And thank you for allowing me to be here today to present who we are so you can get to know us. First of all, we're the third-party administrator, so we essentially manage your claims, your health insurance claims. We also do clinical care management and some other things that I'll talk about as we go along. One of the things that differentiates us is we're a not-for-profit. I come from an industry, the healthcare industry, which is a very for-profit industry. And unfortunately, at times, that for-profit motivation skews the decisions made by administrators and insurance companies for them and against their clients. And so as a not-for-profit, our goals are fully aligned with your goals. Our goal is to, like yours, to have better clinical and financial outcomes for your employees and for the county. We are strategic solutions focused. I'll get to that in a moment, but what our primary job is to identify those key cost drivers within your health plan and then come up with a solution to mitigate those risks. We do that through our clinical care management programs. Again, I'll talk about that a little bit further. Sona Pharmacy Benefits is our pharmacy benefits manager partner. You're currently with a company called Maxor that'll be switching to Sona. Both of us, by the way, are based in Asheville, North Carolina. We also work with Ally Health for telemedicine, so employees have quick and easy access to help. It also will include the Employee Assistance Program for the coming plan year. Community Health Magazine is another partner that we utilize for communications to the employees so that they will know about plan changes, plan opportunities, things that they can do, health and wellness. And that'll be a quarterly magazine that goes to them, as well as online information as well. And then we partner with Cigna to utilize their PPO network. And so, as you're probably familiar with PPO network, Cigna being a national carrier, that gives you access to a national network with a national name, and also generally excellent provider discounts. Whoops, that way. Stokes County is coming off of a very difficult plan year. The data that we're going to show you in a moment is 10 months of your 12-month year. But what we have already identified as some of the cost drivers that are adversely affecting your health plan performance. First is 47% of employees have at least one chronic condition. Most of them have two or more. Those chronic conditions, the top three are diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. So we know from a disease management perspective, those are the targets that we're going to go after to try to help folks live healthier lives, and that brings down your medical costs. 10% of employees have been diagnosed with depression. That's not surprising to us, because when you have the high level of chronic conditions, people who don't feel well become depressed. And so that is a comorbidity that we see very often. My expectation is that number is actually higher. That's diagnosed, that's not actual. Top three medical claimants were all cardiac issues this year. And so we know we've got a a heart problem here, but that goes back to the obesity and hypertension problems I mentioned earlier. Another problem that we have is 4 out of 8 of your highest cost claimants, their claims were driven almost entirely by pharmacy. All right, which is really a huge problem that we think is a great opportunity to save some money for the county, and we'll get to that in a moment, but that's a little unusual. Approximately 20 members or employees are currently on a GLP-1. Now, you may know what a GLP-1 is, or you may have read about it. These are the drugs that folks are taking to lose weight. All right, now these are very expensive drugs. They run about $1,000 per month, cost to the county, and so there's $12,000 a year per person. I've got roughly 20, or you have roughly 20. So now we're talking about $250,000 on these GLP-1s. My job is to make sure that they're properly being utilized. Your current plan design does not cover weight loss drugs, and so we'd have to have that discussion. But these drugs are used for diabetes, and as I said, you have a large number of diabetics, so they may be used properly, they may not, but we need to be sure that they are. But we also have opportunities to save money on those GLP-1s I'll talk about in just a moment. And then finally, the other challenge is your claims year over year are trending in double digits, and that is only going to make the problem worse down the road. So the other part of my job is to bend your claim trend and bring it into the single digits. So there's a lot of challenges here, but there's a lot of opportunities for us to make corrections as we come into the plan year. All right, let me talk about a couple of those solutions, and you see some of the partners logos up there. First of all, full utilization of the county on-site clinic. I've been in this business for about 25 years. I think your on-site clinic is one of the greatest assets you have from your health plan perspective. The reason I say that is it's accessible and it's the best cost alternative. Because every time an employee or a member uses the clinic, rather than goes to a physician, that is money that stays in the pocket of the county. You can either pay to the physician out of your pocket, or you just take it out of one pocket and put it in the other with the county clinic. So I think that is excellent. We're going to really try to press employees to utilize that to bring costs down. It also will allow patient referrals to Crescent Disease Management. As I said, there's nearly half of the employees have a chronic condition, at least one. And so as the on-site clinic identifies these individuals who have the chronic conditions, and Zach is going to talk about some of the wellness programs that we're going to do that, they will then refer those patients to our nurses and clinical staff, and then they will work with them one-on-one to help them live a healthier life and, again, bring down your costs. Biosimilars, patient assistance, and international sourcing. These are all pharmacy solutions, and I'm going to give you specific examples on the next slide. Clinical review of the plan document for compliance. That gets back to the GLP-1s. I want to make sure that the people who are using them appropriately. Telemedicine for integrated EAP program. You currently have a group called Teledoc. Your participation was about 15%, as I recall. That's relatively low from a telemedicine perspective. And telemedicine, if you're aware, it's an inconvenient time. You can't get to your doctor, can't get to an urgent care facility. You simply call in or go online and speak to a physician who can then hopefully assess your problem. Oops, I went to this thing already. Let me go back one more second. And then the print and electronic communications to all members. Communications is key, as the lady said just a moment ago, getting the information in front of the employees in a way that they can respond. So we do both print media as well as online, because we know not everybody goes online to get their communications, but the print has stickiness, as we like to say. All right. Your high cost claimants for this past plan year. Remember, I take over July 1, so I'm just telling you retrospectively what has happened, and these are claims through 10 months. So these will go up a little bit, but your highest cost claimant was a cardiac claimant, nearly $900,000 in claims. That individual is no longer on the plan. He had elected COBRA, but dropped off of COBRA. That individual had a left ventricular assist device, a very expensive device, but he was also waiting on a heart transplant. So that would have been a much bigger claim down the road. The other two, as I said, are also cardiology. Going down to the fourth one, Humira is actually all of the four drugs, Humira, Rinvoq, Inflecta, and Enbrel, are predominantly for rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, and other autoimmune conditions. And so we're going to have to investigate why you have such a high prevalence of that. The Humira has a biosimilar. That means it's a drug that does identically what the Humira does. It's no longer, the patent has expired on Humira. We can potentially cut the cost of that by about 70%. So where that's going to end up to be about $120,000 this year, we'd hope to get that down to about 35 to 40. The Rinvoq and the Enbrel both have international sourcing opportunities. All right, so you may have heard of the opportunity to source drugs out of Canada, which we do, and that cuts the cost of those drugs generally about 50%. And so if we could hit those two, that knocks them down. They'll trend up to be about $80,000 a piece. We could knock those down to $40,000 a piece. And then the other thing I mentioned was patient assistance. If those other opportunities don't present, then we can work directly with the drug manufacturers to get patient assistance for your employees that can bring down the cost of the drug to the employees and potentially also the cost of the drug to the county. So there's lots of, in my opinion, low-hanging fruit on your pharmacy plan where we think we can save you money. And with that, unless you have questions, I'll pass it off to Zach.
Thank you. All right, so for the stop loss renewal this year, we did go out to market and market a bunch of different stop loss carriers in the market. Due to the high cost claimants that we've had this year and kind of the claims year we had a limited number of markets that came back interested. So staying with Symetra was the best renewal scenario for the county. We are recommending a 10% rate increase on those funding numbers in order to get the funding closer to the expected costs. As you remember a few years back when we took over, the funding was a little bit below the expected. So we've had a strategy over the past few years to try and get that number closer to the expected and above expected. So we were on track to do that. This year has been a bad claims year, so we're kind of resetting on that. A couple benefit enhancements that we're making this year on the plan is the removal of the HRA. So if you guys are familiar with the health reimbursement arrangement, it's been with the county plan for a long time. Causes a lot of confusion for the employees or the members as well as the providers in the community. We've created like cheat sheets. We call the providers and talk to them about how to utilize that health reimbursement arrangement, but there's still a tremendous amount of confusion around that. So we lowered the deductible and the out-of-pocket max for employees and removed the health reimbursement arrangement. So some of those claims costs are factored into that, but you will no longer have the health reimbursement arrangement cost associated with the plan as well. Should have a better member experience from both a provider standpoint and just the confusion around the plan. So the on-site clinic, as David mentioned, we are excited to continue to encourage employees and their dependents to go to the on-site clinic. It is a great resource that you all have access to and the employees have access to. It's a $0 copay to the employee as well as their dependents. So really hoping that we continue to beat that up there. The on-site clinic is really excited about it as well. They want to engage employees and want more employees to come and do believe they have the capacity to do so. So we're excited to continue to watch that grow and work with them to do that. So we are rolling out a wellness program this year, as David mentioned, with all of the chronic conditions and just the health problems that we have within the county. Our goal would be to continue to change not only the conditions that they have, but the behaviors that are associated with those and the behaviors prior to those conditionings happen. So we want to start by simple things like an annual physical. Make sure that employees are getting annual physicals. One thing that we are going to do in September is biometric screening. So we want to have a good starting point with the partnership with Crescent. So we're going to host a health fair in September. We'll partner with the health department to do that. But we want to have a starting point with employees through those biometric screenings so we can watch how the program works with them and improves on their health. The other ones are kind of suggested requirements for folks. So our recommendation would be to have employees complete 5 of these tasks. So you would have an annual physical would be one, biometric screening could be one, you could have a dental cleaning as one. If you engage a health coach, that could be one. The health department has health coaches and wellness coordinators on staff that are more than willing and excited to kind of partner on that. Gym attendance, David has reached out to 4 local gyms. 3 have responded? 2 have responded.
The Y and Planet.
Yeah, the Y and Planet Fitness and has been negotiating with them on some discounts for employees, so gym attendance would be one of those things. We could do something like a water challenge, make sure folks drink more water and cut down on soda, so that would be one thing. Step challenge, if we wanted to do a walk-in challenge, that would be something that we could also facilitate. So just different ideas, but we're excited to roll this out with you all. I think that it could change the behavior for the employees and really just start to focus a little bit more on health. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions, comments?
Questions? Is there a good information? We appreciate you coming and sharing this information with us. Welcome on board.
Commissioner Wood, anything?
No, I'm good.
Commissioner Moore?
I'm just really glad you got the emphasis on wellness programs. I think that really does make a difference, and we'll support that strongly, I think.
All right, thank you.
Mittenhall?
I am good. That's a very good presentation. You have a lot of good information. Certainly understand the things that you want to do as far as cost increase or trying to bring things down also. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment is, our health benefits, it's a very big, important part of our overall employee compensation. So, I appreciate, you guys taking the time to come down. I appreciate you working with our staff, with these suggestions. I think that, and of course, we'll be having various work budget sessions starting next week. But I think some of the things that we need to look at, basically talking with staff, is we got to do what makes sense. If certain things aren't working, then we need to reevaluate, especially when it comes to the term of recruiting and retention. Mm-hmm. But thank you for coming down. This is a very good report. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thank you for the help.
And we're going to the discussion agenda. First up is tax office agenda. Richard Brim will present. Hello, Richard.
Just like always, the first item I'd like to report is our monthly collection status report. We're about 99.64% of what was budgeted to collect. With still 2 months to get there, so we'll make that easily. We're about $823,000 ahead of where we were last year, so we're doing good on our collections. Next item is our real and personal releases less than $100. We have 3 accounts that total $183.49. Then we have real and personal releases more than 100. That's 2 accounts that total $24.70.52. And the final item is our real and personal refunds more than 100. That's 8 accounts that total $18.26.22. We have 1 present use value late application, and then the final item I have is request to change a portion of Covington Road, a road name change request. I have an attached signed petition from all adjoining and affected property owners requesting that the portion of Covington Road that's located between Flat Shoals and Capella Road be renamed to Ronnie Mae Road. I have attached a map in there for you to see as a reference. Also, all emergency services department heads have agreed with this request, and I have also attached a sign-up sheet there for where the department heads have signed the signature sheet. And then finally, I've been in contact with NCDOT Mr. Pat Ivy, and he stated that secondary road names are under the county's purview, and all we need is the notification once the board changes the name. So that's all I have. I am requesting that the real and personal releases and refunds more than 100, the present use value late application, and the road name change request be put on the June 12th consent agenda. That's all I have.
On that road change
Yes.
name, is there any costs associated with that?
There's going to be a little bit of cost of changing those blades. We'll have to change those blades, and I can get with Public Works Director Stuart Easter to get those figures, and that's something that if the board chooses, we could pass that along to the folks whose petition. I think that they will gladly pay that. I think that's going to be probably $200 or less.
And then no software issues with CAD or anything?
No, RGIS specialist, he stays on top of everything. All the department heads, all of our emergency service department heads have signed off on this. We will implement it, put it in place, and try to make it as seamless as possible, and coordinate that if the board chooses to do that.
Anybody else got any questions, comments? Good with it. Another great report. Thanks, Richard. Keep that high collection rate going.
We'll try.
Next is the Pinnacle Lions Club request, and Bart and Mary Lynn Stone will present.
Good afternoon. I'm Bart Stone, and Mary Lynn's sitting out there still. We're coming on behalf of the Lions Club seeking approval. And speaking of your county parks, the Lions Club Park in Pinnacle would like to make modifications to the park with the commissioner's approval. Just a little background. Lions Club has been there since 1971. One of our charter members and president of the club is Charles Watson is here as well, along with Jerry Moen with the Lions Club. And in those 50 years, the Lions Club has added the tennis court back in 1973, which has since fallen into disrepair. But the Lions Club has been very active with our neighbor, Pinnacle Elementary School, in fostering basketball leagues and programs, including coaching and those leagues, facilitating those leagues throughout those years for decades. COVID put an end to that. As Mary Lynn and I became members of the Lions Club, we saw that there was potential there to utilize the tennis courts, to refurbish those and use them for pickleball. And so we approached Amber and Tori about it, and they seemed enthusiastic and gave some good advice. But so just on a brief presentation here, we talked about why pickleball. Well, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the world. And in the last 10 years, it's grown exponentially in this country, especially in the last 5 years. A lot of people think about pickleball for our senior community. which Paula will address today. Not in your presentation, but the Mayo Clinic just did a study last month that came out that said pickleball can increase your lifespan 6 to 10 years because of the social interaction and the physical demands of the sport. The largest growing segment of pickleball players is actually between the ages of 25 and 34, which speaks to the volume of pickleball players that are out there right now. It's a very energetic sport. It's a very social sport. There are 2 complaints that come up about pickleball, and one of those, there are complaints. This is my opener. There are 2 complaints about pickleball. One is that it has a distinctive noise when the hard paddle hits the plastic ball, and the other one is that people laugh too much when they play, creating a new. And that was from a study done by the New York Times several years ago. It is a great sport. It's growing in popularity, and it reaches multi-generational groups. The problem with pickleball is that there's no place to play. Stokes County does not have a dedicated place to play right now. Keene does not have dedicated courts except indoor at the Y. Tobacconville has 2 courts that they share with tennis courts. Each of those courts is lined for both tennis and pickleball, which is not really conducive for either sport. Mount Airy got 3 dedicated pickleball courts as solely used for pickleball several years ago, and they quickly saw the need to expand those. They now have 6, and 2 months ago they put lights up out there. Moxville, a similar size city to like King, has 6 courts, and they're looking to expand to 9 or 12 courts if they can get them. My point is, it's just growing and there's no place to play. So why Pinnacle? Besides the existing facility and the lower cost, instead of constructing new courts, is that where it is geographically located is very conducive to the players in the area. Mary Lynn and I both play regularly at the Y. We'll go up there and there'll be 30 people waiting to play pickleball. They started off 5 years ago. They had 2 courts, 3 days a week for 3 hours. Now that Stokes County Y is up to 6 days a week, up to 7 hours a day to accommodate some of the players, and you still wait to play. We started some social media groups. On one social media group, there's 144 players. In the King area Facebook page and the Team Reach page, this for the King Y, there's 79 people participate in that. There's a Mount Airy pickleball group that has over 200 members, and they travel all over the place just looking to play pickleball. So with Pinnacle there, with the Lions Club Park that has facilitated the park since the early 70s that the county owns, that's the state. That was taken a couple months ago from an aerial photograph. That's the current state of the courts. Now, Lions Club has that building on the very top of that picture is kind of hard to see. But the Lions Club constructed that several years ago. They used to have a pavilion there. They maintain that, and that's available for rental or whatever in the Lions Club. There's a lot of good work out of that building there where we have our monthly meetings. This is what we're proposing. What would happen with 6 pickleball courts on the side of 2 tennis courts. Now, we could do less courts for less money, but with 6 courts, it invites us to start league play. It invites us to do clinics. It invites us for tournaments. So we could actually do some fundraising for the Lions Club. And if you're not familiar with the Lions Club is the founded over 100 years ago. It is the largest service organization in the world. They currently do numerous activities for the visually impaired. In fact, one of the programs they're really trying to foster now is they'll get into schools, primarily for children 8 and younger, that diagnose them with eye diseases through a scanning process before they come to fruition and they're not repairable anymore. In other words, they'll go into schools for $75. They'll go and they can do hundreds of kids for that fee and screen those children to see if they have these eye conditions that otherwise probably would not be detected. And they go all over the state doing that. And this would help fund those type of projects that the Lions Club does, as well as giving eyeglasses to children, canes to the visually impaired, and other things as well. So what we try to do is we're seeking approval to raise the money to, which would be by $85,000, to turn these 2 courts that aren't being used right now, there's not even a net on one of the courts, into 6 pickleball courts that will get used just because of the large amount of people that play pickleball in the area especially between Winston and Mount Airy. Pinnacle's very strategically located, right off 3 minutes from US 52, that we can sit there and have our tournaments, have our clinics, have our league play, promote the Lions Club, get more people to join the Lions Club, because once you join the Lions Club, you get access to the building, the facilities, and hopefully better strengthen the county park system as well as the Lions Club. Let me ask my partner, what did I miss? No, this is funding that we're going to try to do. Now, we're not going to turn down money. But we're seeking through fundraising to fund this on our own. But, you know, through grants, hopefully, and whatever, and fundraising. What Charles was saying, they constructed those tennis courts back in 1973. The Lions Club did on their own through all their own funding.
We paid for all that. The county didn't pay nothing. The way we got that property, it used to be in the 50s, it was an old baseball field. And these three men in Pinnacle owned the land, and they would have sold to each other. In 1972, Kathy White was county recreation director. And I talked with Kathy. She said, if you can get them donated to the county, y'all can use it for a Lions Club, parking lots for the Lions Club. Should the Lions Club ever fold, it goes back to the county. I got the papers.
I happen to know that for a fact. You don't have to prove that, I know that.
A couple of notes I would just like to make. Pickleball within the next 10 years is probably going to be an Olympic sport. It's also being included in the curriculum throughout the school system, being that it was, I think I heard over 5,500 students within our school system. We're going to have quite an interest. And it's, I think sometimes people get the idea that it's a sport for the elderly, which would be a wonderful thing. It sounds like we could really use this. I think that's where our population is headed. But it's also a sport for the youngsters. At the Y now, we see children joining in, and we have 20-somethings that are there all of the time. So we have participants of all ages that are joining us with this sport. And the interest is just continually grows. And it would provide so many opportunities for summer clinics, especially with the building that we have there with the Lions Club, and then more promotions for our Lions Club members.
Questions?
I don't have any questions, but I think it's a great idea. I think we need to, you know, if we need to give them permission or put it on action, or if you just need consensus, but I think we should definitely let them do this. Whatever needs to happen.
Yeah, I'd like to move it to action just to take official action.
Everybody seen us done it one time.
100 years ago.
Recommend moving it to action?
Yeah, since it's our property, I'd like to take by name, I'd just like to take an official vote.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Okay, we'll do that on consensus.
I'm all for it. What Charles coached my boys in Pinnacle Lions Club basketball.
We did that for 36 years.
Yes, and it was a big deal then.
And we gave every one of the kids a trophy at the end of the year. And what we taught them was mainly the sportsmanship and the basic fundamentals. We wasn't about winning and losing, it's about playing.
This group will do what they say, I guarantee it. So I'm all for it.
I see no downside to this. I'm all for it. My question, I have a question, is $85,000 the cost of doing it? You got a good estimate?
You've gotten several estimates. This is the best one that we've gotten, and that'll include
everything.
Repatching and resurfacing of those courts, some shaded area, also would be incorporated, so if there is downtime type thing, or if it's like during league play. Now, our ambitions are, like if you have a league play, it would be, or clinics, it'd be for young and for old. Now, pickleball is generally broken up into age group and skill level, so it's very easy to get with somebody that's of the same skill set you are, and to have, competitive, fun type matches.
Great idea to me.
I gave a bunch of people pickleball sets for Christmas last year, so I'm gonna tell them they can. Pretty soon they'll have some courts they can go use instead of their driveway. I think that's where they're playing now.
So we're hoping. Thank you for your time.
We'll move it to action, at the action agenda, and I'm sure it'll pass. So we'll move from there then.
Okay. Once we have that, we'll start the fundraising, and then the long process of getting the funds and getting the firm we chose to put into action. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is a recommendation for the lease or sale of Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital. Well, I'll just get her up here and then we'll wait, yeah. And then purchase and project manager Glenda Pruitt will present, and Ronnie's right on time.
Good afternoon. On March the 11th, 2024, a request for proposals for lease, sale, or conveyance of the Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital was posted. On April the 19th, 2024, the county received 3 proposals. Amber Brown, interim county manager and clerk to the board, and myself have been reviewing all the proposals. Using the evaluation criteria included in the request for proposals, based on our review and scores, the recommendation to the board is as follows. First, Novant Health. Second, Stokes Medical Management Group. Third, Tenor Health Partners.
Anybody got any questions or comments for Glenda or our technical manager? Any additional feedback from them that you request? Okay, all right, thank you, Glenda.
Thank you.
On action today.
So there's a board consensus to move this to the action agenda at the end of this meeting. Next up is a draft resolution to conduct an advisory referendum on levying a 1/4 cent countywide local sales and uses tax. Basically, it kind of fits in with kind of what the budget recommendation from our intermanager was. Yes, with the recommended property tax increase in order to fund the services that we need to provide the care to our residents and to our visitors, is a more equitable way of creating additional funds would be to get that extra 1/4 cent sales tax that the state allows. I mean, just in itself, Hanging Rock State Park, I mean, last year they generated over $900,000 people going through their park and coming down our road. From all sides of the county, they come from all directions. And I just think that it'll take some of the heat off of just the property taxpayers here in Stokes to continue to fund the growth. And like the manager quoted in her report, growth causes cost also. We got to provide the services. So on one hand, we really like growth, but on the other hand, we got to be able to compensate and not just rely just on the taxpayers that own property here in Stokes County. But it would be a referendum. We have to put it on the ballot to be voted on. So I would ask, because the government kind of more or less has to stay out of it, we can't really get into the promoting of it. But I would say this, that if you like your property rate taxes not to have to increase as much, then I would hope that you would look at voting for the sales tax referendum. Any discussion by the board members? You'll make any comments or?
Well, I just said, that I think it does make sense to try to do this one more time, or maybe more than one time, but hopefully it will pass this time. I think last time there was not as much good information got out as could have been to inform the voters about what this exactly means, because there are certain things that aren't taxed. I think food and gas and things that it doesn't pertain to, but the ad valorem taxes that people pay on their personal property, so the burden of the taxes are just on those people that own property, whereas this is a more fair way to do it, because everybody is purchasing things at stores, and it's just 1/4 of 1 cent, which I think last time that got misconstrued and people thought it was actual 25 cents instead of 1/4 of 1 cent. So, most other counties in the state have already done this to round it up to the 7%, instead of 6 3/4 like it is right now. So I think it makes sense to do it and hopefully get the message out of why we're doing it, and to spread this burden of the taxes to more than just the property owners of the county.
Anybody else? I concur with everything she just said. Commissioner Wood? Anything extra?
I don't know anything I can say. I've lived here all my life. Number one, I don't think you got enough time to convince the hardheads that drive to Winston and not even buy local and pay more tax. But common sense ain't common no more.
Commissioner Minimal, any comment?
I think they've covered it all.
Okay.
I think we just need to try to get some citizens, hopefully, that will see that this is needed and help us with spreading that message, since the county cannot spend county money to fund promoting this referendum. So that'll have to be privately done. So anybody out there that wants to take that on, let us know. we welcome that opportunity to someone.
So can I get a consensus that send it to action for tonight?
Yeah.
All right, Amber, we'll put it on the action agenda. Next up is draft resolution calling for an alcoholic beverage election in Stokes County. Basically what this is there's a lot of restaurants in the county that have made mention that they're a little bit at a disadvantage, where people or other counties, towns, they've got the where they can serve mixed drinks. So, but according to state statute, we have to put it in front of the people in a ballot form in order for us to allow for that to be sold in restaurants. Anybody else have anything to add?
I'd like for you to clarify for the audience where it is legal at this time in Stokes County. Some of the audience may not know that.
City of King and City of Walnut Cove. That's all I know of.
Well, I'll just add that a lot of the wedding venues that I've heard personally that would like to take advantage of this, they're not in the city limits of either Walnut Cove or most of them are not.
I just thought it would be good that everybody understood.
Good point. If nobody else has any comments or discussion, can I get a consensus to move it to action?
I'm against that.
Can I still?
Well, number one, this comes out of nowhere, and the people of Stokes County hadn't had a chance to speak up. So I think we need to shove it to next meeting and let them see who comes and.
Well, they can vote at the.
Well, that's true too. And also on the sample ballot, why does it say ABC store selection?
I think that's the way the state has.
Is that the way they got it worded?
Because it was in the City of King, it was 2 things like that.
I mean, you got enough votes to get it on there. I'm gonna vote against it, I'll
No,
tell you.
we don't need to do it today either.
that's
I
what-
don't say that, but you said it
Yeah, I'm
before I
fine
did.
with waiting. I don't.
Okay, all right, I thought we were doing it today.
I totally agree with Keith on this, that we need to give the people of Stokes County that's not in the city of King or the city of Walnut Cove, city limits, where it is legal. And it's not legal, except Sonia, as Commissioner Koch said, maybe some of the wedding venues. But I think the people of the county that's not in those areas, we need to give them at least one chance to come up here and provide their feedback to us.
And I also think they ought to have, I'm all for them voting on it and them making the choice. I just don't wanna make a decision right now.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think we have either an official policy or an unwritten policy that we are not going to put sensitive issues on the afternoon meetings. We normally hold those important issues at the night meetings when we're sure people can get here. And so I would support what the others have said, that we need to give people I'd put it back on discussion agenda is what I would suggest.
Well, should we back up on the sales tax too then? That's the same. I feel that if we're gonna do that for the alcohol, I think we need to do it for the sales tax then. Yeah.
Good,
That would be a bad
I'm good with
idea.
doing it on the sales tax too.
Yeah, because that is like a pretty important
Right,
issue as
right.
well. So I think it would be a safe bet to put both of
Let's
them.
just put them both
Move
back
them
on the discussion.
And give everybody time to come in, to have public comments and express their opinions. But I do support the fact that we should let people vote on this. I think, King and Walnut Cove have done it, and I've had lots of businesses calling me about doing it. They feel like they have a hand tied behind their backs, basically competing. And I'm not aware of any major issues in King or Walnut Cove that have occurred because of it. So I think it's something that people definitely need to have an opportunity to vote on.
Amber, when's if this were to get on the upcoming election ballot, when do we have that? When do we have to have?
July. As long as we get it to elections by the end of July, we should be okay. From what Jason Perry has told me.
Next meeting, we can move it to
Yeah.
So we've got time. Make up
the
time.
10th.
All right, sounds good. Our final discussion item is a joint meeting with the Board of Education discussion. What this stems from is that, normally every year here in Stokes County, we have a meeting with the Board of Education and the superintendent to discuss their budget and what we approve or what we don't approve. The chair of the Board of Education, he had inquired at the last Republican Men's Club meeting, wanting to know if we were going to do the meeting. I know in a previous Board of Commissioner meeting, we had talked about it briefly, and there was a thought that maybe, do we really even need to do it? So with that, I want to get input from every board member, because I think we do need to get a consensus on if we do want to have a meeting with the budget with the Board of Education. So I'll entertain anybody to start what they think.
I think I'll start Mendenhall.
I'm saying anybody. I'm not.
It's not a matter of tradition or nothing else that I'm gonna bring up. But I will recuse what I just said. It has been tradition. Traditions can be broken. However, I think the only way that you can try to, I'm just saying this, I guess when you've been in education 36 years, if I were them, I would want to come up and try to make a convincing argument why they're requesting the amount of money they owe to us. I would want, if I would in their shoes, I would want to have the chance to come to us and say, hey, this is what we're asking for and this is what Amber has recommended. And have a chance for discussion. So in my opinion, I'd still like to have a chance for a joint meeting, but I think that they've got to be, and I think they've got, in my opinion, I'm trying to find the right words here, is, you know, I think if you don't communicate, you don't know what the other group's thinking. Communication is so essential, and professional communication. That's all. So that's why I would ask for it, but if, you know, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. The last time they were up here, things did not end well. People in the audience may have seen YouTube, the meeting on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of people were at the meeting. Some things said. I'm sure that some things were probably said that they wish they hadn't said, but I'd like to see them come if we can have a professional dialogue between the two groups. And I'll end mine on that.
Comments?
Well, I think being a former Board of Education member, I think it's always good to have that opportunity to make their case, you know, in a personal one-on-one or board to iron it all out. And so we can ask questions and they can ask us questions, and communication is key, I think, in this. And will it accomplish a great deal? I don't know. You know, I know where we're at and what we've been through and all that, but I think that it would be beneficial, I think, to sit down with them and talk it through from my perspective. That's just me.
I think we need to meet. It's not anybody's fault because we're in the situation we're in. But if we don't work together, talk together, it will never be resolved. And we need to do it in a professional matter, no name calling, no bullying, and act like human beings. That's all I got to say about it.
Commissioner Moore? I'm good with having the meeting. Like I said earlier, I'd like it to be a substantive meeting with a well-coordinated agenda, because it does cost the taxpayers money every time we do this. And, but I mean, they are our largest line item in the budget, so I'm good with it if the other board members.
They did the 11th, or they couldn't do it.
We can't do that. We won't be in Raleigh.
Oh.
They're having the, what do you call it, the county meeting days in Raleigh.
Okay.
And chair and vice chair have both signed up to go to that. And it starts that 11th night,
Okay.
which we didn't know that before when we originally said that. We weren't
We'll
sure
have
if
to
we
come
would
up
have
with a new date.
Yeah, we'd have to come up with a new
We
date.
never got a response.
So we got a consensus, because I agree, we need to sit down and we need to talk, to meet with the Board of Education, and then Amber will coordinate and get a new date when we can have that discussion.
I agree with what Commissioner Moore said about the well-defined agenda, that maybe we can just accomplish more with some set, you know, guidelines that we can get to the meat of everything instead of just blowing a lot of hot air.
Well, it's very simple. We need some.
Not that we ever do that.
We need some parameters.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Instead of increasing our ratings on YouTube.
right.
Any other?
So Amber, you gonna reset it?
Yeah, I'll reach out to Dr. Rice first thing tomorrow morning and get with him on possible dates. And I'll coordinate with you all.
So next up is the action agenda. What do we have on the action
The
agenda?
first item is the Pinnacle Lions Club, the pickleball
Okay, all right, so can I get a motion, reference us giving the Pinnacle Lions Club permission to,
Proceed with altering
I'll make the motion.
the property. I don't.
I make a motion that we give the Lions Club in Pinnacle permission to fundraise and build the pickleball courts.
Second that motion.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And then the last one is the recommendation for the lease or sale of Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital.
I have a motion based on the recommendation of Ms. Pruitt. I make a motion that this board accept the proposal of Novant Health Incorporated submitted in response to Stokes County's RFP for the lease, sale, or conveyance of Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital dated March the 11th, 2024, contingent upon Novant Health Incorporated's negotiation and mutual agreement with both Stokes County and LifeBright Hospital Group of Stokes on definitive documents necessary to effectuate the lease, sale, or conveyance of Stokes Reynolds Memorial Hospital to Novant Health Incorporated in accordance with its proposal and the requirements of the RFP, with the goal of having definitive documents signed before August 1st, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Now, we have an action.
That was it for action.
Do we have closed today? Yes. We can go ahead and read the rationale for that.
To consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 3-318.1183, and to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industry or other business in the area served by the public body, including agreement to list of economic development incentives that may be offered. The public body negotiations with privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 1.3-318.11.
Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
Make a motion that we have a 5-minute recess and then enter closed.
Okay, a second? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're out.
And we gotta do all the work. Amber's done with her part.
Tell us about it. Midnight reading.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Go ahead. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?